It's really cool.
And he does work over there all the time.
Was that?
And he works over there all the time.
Yeah. There's a foundry.
Oh yeah, it's BNA, my old roommate.
I'm gonna start melting things down. I'm gonna take all my used books there and melt them down, make a new book.
I have meltdowns all the time.
Okay, we're on the
It's a
internet.
way of processing.
Hello, internet. How are you doing today? It's Sunday.
It's
Wake up with the sun.
Jazz pie.
Long sun.
What
I
up?
woke up with the sun today, and it was like way too early, and then I fell back asleep.
Well,
I gotta wake.
Really early too.
I usually
sleep.
wake up really early, and I overslept until 8:15 today.
I sleep in a room that has a giant sliding glass door in it now, so the sun just comes right in as soon as it wakes up, and I've been waking up with the sun, and you know what? I'm real fucking happy.
It's nice to get up early.
Yeah.
Totally.
I always begrudge it. My dog has been getting me up pretty early recently, and so this morning I was up at like 6:30. But then I wasn't sure if Ryan was right and we're doing chapter 9 or if we still hadn't gotten to chapter 8 yet.
Food for the gods.
I ended up reading chapter 9 this morning.
I think that we did 8 last time.
There's just some stuff I reread it yesterday, and there's just some stuff I didn't remember us talking about. But
my pencil, for what it's worth, is like a couple pages into chapter 8.
So I thought we still had more 8 to do.
It, but not the whole thing.
We didn't start
skipped
8.
around in time of 8. I think we talked.
Well, I read chapter 9 too.
About some stuff. Yeah. Well, 9's awesome. 9 is a really good chapter.
Yeah, stuff starts popping off.
A few days ago, I finished Long Sun, and now I started Short Sun.
Yeah, Short Sun's where it's at.
I barely started. I'm like 20 pages in.
That sounds fucking crazy. I just started the second book a couple days ago. I don't even know what we're going to talk about, honestly.
Yeah.
Yep. Also, I'm down to the 2 kittens now, and they're loose in the house.
Nice.
That's my other update. They're like...
I got 2 cats in this room with me right now.
Oh.
Don't pee
My
on
boss took a cat away from you.
Oh, it's true.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
He removed a cat.
Yeah.
Catectomy.
He's cat hauling.
Was it?
Yeah.
You guys are making it sound so creepy.
No, not me. Not me. I'm not doing it.
Yeah, I have a certain relationship with my boss.
Yeah. My big news is that I have a cold sore on my lip.
Neat.
Nice.
Yeah,
That's rock and roll, dude.
I'm also going places.
You look like a member of Spinal Tap now.
Yeah.
What did you say his name? Wally? Is that his name?
That's Freddy.
Freddy. That's what it was. Yeah.
Like the Kruger?
No.
The Kruger.
Like the Kruger.
Like the Kurgan.
But if that's how your mind wants to do it, then your mind can do it that way.
Like Freddy's a strange beast.
The Krug.
But hang on. Isn't Freddy Krueger... Yeah, okay, yeah. As I thought. Freddy Krueger isn't a Y. This is Freddy with an I-E.
Defeated by pedantry.
No, well, I'm just saying, so in literally speaking, he's not Freddy like Freddy Krueger.
No, that is not something I can argue with in any way.
There's at least one difference between your cat Freddy and Freddy Krueger.
Yep.
One.
He does have very sharp, like, hands.
That's true. Freddy Krueger's got the razor hand.
But he's extremely benevolent.
He was burned alive in a furnace by local townspeople.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say he never interfered with any children.
And they're both dreamboats, so.
They're both dreamboats.
Yeah, he could be like him in that he is his opposite.
Did you call him an optimist?
Opposite.
Oh.
Wouldn't Freddy Krueger's opposite kill you when you're awake?
Yeah, he
It's
would.
just a normal guy.
He would.
would
Freddy
love you
Krueger's
and
opposite
nurture you.
is a
He would
midwife.
kill you.
She would
I
help
don't think
birth
he
you
would kill
during
you.
the day.
I think he would save you with love.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Some
Not
people
During a
think
daydream. He
some
says he
people
saves you
think
with
that
love.
you rescued the
During
cat,
a
Jen, but really the
daydream.
cat rescued you.
I mean, Freddy might have thought he was saving the children, from his point of view, right before the parents burned him up in that furnace.
That's a really good point.
Yeah.
Parents just don't understand.
Yeah.
I think Will Smith said that.
Famous.
Yeah, on the Freddy Krueger soundtrack.
Yeah, it's part of
It's
the
like
rap
the-
song that summarizes the plot.
The song that plays at the end over the closing credits.
You
We watched a movie last night that had a rap.
brain.
Oh, yeah.
Last night we watched the Street Fighter movie,
Ooh,
JCVD Street Fighter movie.
Blanca.
There's a rap at the end.
Isn't there some? Is part of that movie about them making new money?
hmm
like
Bison
Bitcoin?
Oh yeah, the bison dollars.
Bison dollars. That's like Bitcoin, right?
That's illegal.
His plan is that he printed a bunch of money and then he was going to kidnap the Queen of England and force England to recognize the bison dollar as worth £5.
Whoa, that's like $10.
Okay.
Yeah, so the exchange rate would be insane, and so that was his idea. So he's trying to pay people in bison dollars. So
Is-
that they,
Is this the 90s one, Mark?
Yeah.
Or is this... Okay.
yeah, where Raul Julia is M. Bison in his final role before his death.
A movie so bad that there's never even, I think, been a rumor of them doing another Street Fighter movie.
And there's like I guess there's like
Because
this,
they did the Mortal Kombat one.
right. Well, that's true. I still want to watch
Entirely different game,
I watched
made
it.
by
I
a different
watched it with
company.
Adam
with
Enders.
all
Mortal,
different
the thing is,
characters.
Mortal Kombat like has a story, like they're like that exists in the games.
I mean, it has like almost 10 stories because they completely change it almost every game.
Sure. I mean, yeah, but there is story there to pull from for a movie. But Street Fighter like does not have a story. It's just like
Sure it does.
it's
They're
just like
fighting.
It's just fighting tournament. There's M. Bison is the big bad guy, but that's it. Like
Well-
that's all there is.
Well, like Sagat's scar is because of a previous encounter with Ryu, I believe. You know that
Mhm.
Bison killed Guile's partner.
Like his love partner?
I mean, I think that's ambiguous. I think it's kind of like a Top Gun thing.
That kind of
Ambiguous
happens in the
love is the
movie.
best kind.
In the movie, Guile's partner isn't killed by M. Bison. He is transformed into Blanca.
Nice. Blanca's the
Oh.
best. Blanca #1.
Blanca
Was-
is not good in this movie. Blanca
Was-
is a really low point. in
Blanca's
this movie.
bad. Okay.
Was the person who got
I like
changed,
low points.
was the person who got changed into Blanca from Brazil?
His name was like Carlos Blanca.
So possibly Brazilian. That's
They
nice
really
to
didn't
think.
do much with the nationality stuff in the movie. It's just like M. Bison is basically has his own. He's the military dictator of a Southeast Asian country called Shadaloo, and he's just trying to like do all this stuff, and then Guile is like leading a team of like basically UN forces into Shadaloo to try to like take down Bison.
Wait a minute. This is the plot of Mortal Kombat.
Is it? I thought that the movie was remarkably similar to X-Men Origins Wolverine,
Nice.
both in quality and like plot structure.
Yeah, X-Men Origins Wolverine is a classic low point.
Mortal
Not good.
Kombat involves other planes.
Right. That
Yeah.
doesn't happen. There's none
More
of the
sci-fi.
like cool shit from Street Fighter happens in the movie. Like they do some of the moves, but like the Hadouken's not a Hadouken. You know, like nobody's like catching on fire and like doing something crazy. And
Do
it-
they have the 100-handed slap?
like Sagat is just like a guy with an eye patch And Dalsim is like a scientist. He doesn't do any crazy stretchy stuff. He doesn't fight anybody.
It's like a
But
gritty, realistic.
Vega is hot.
Vega is the same. Vega is like exactly like Vega in the video game.
The other cool thing was that Jean-Claude Van Damme, a very much not American person with a very much not American accent, has a very shitty American flag tattoo on his bicep.
Yeah.
I imagine that a lot of people with shitty American flag tattoos have also really weird accents.
That's true.
But
That's very true.
But I wanted to mention, sort of on topic, that since you guys are just talking about stuff I don't know about, so I'm just going to talk about something I do know about, which is that, movie theaters are open again.
Ooh.
And I want you guys to know, Kenny and I have been going to the movies, and it rules because nobody's in there.
Yeah, I want to see Fast and the Furious really bad.
I just want you to know. We've gone to 2 movies in the last week, and both of them, there were 2 other people in the movie theater.
That's
So it's like pretty COVID safe to go to the movie if you're worried about COVID.
Also, that means you can whip Twizzlers at the screen. Which is...
Oh, man, somebody's got to clean those Twizzlers up. And it used to be me.
I've cleaned those Twizzlers up.
But there's less Twizzlers than usual to clean up.
That's
and
true.
you know exactly who did it.
Listen, I always knew exactly who did it.
I didn't know anybody did it besides me.
Yeah, because it's you.
We saw the Wizard of Oz at the Senator last week.
Whoa.
The Senators reopen?
It was pretty enjoyable. Yeah.
I've been holding out. Like I was like, when the Senator reopens, that's when I'll start going.
Oh, we've been to 2 movies at the Senator in the last week.
Hell yeah.
I recommend. It's fun to go to the movies when nobody's in there.
Cool.
And also it's fun to go to the movies when you haven't gotten to go to the movies in a really long time.
I love going to the
I've been
movies.
looking forward to that so much.
Yeah. It's like the one thing I missed.
Yeah, we were the same way. We used to go to the movies all the time, just like...
See movies we didn't even like. We just go.
Yeah, no, totally.
And you don't have to pick one. Like, I'd so much rather... I mean, you have to pick between what's there, like, in the 3 movie theaters, or however many movie theaters, but, like, you don't have to, like, pick one on the internet, which I hate doing. Which is why I don't watch anything. Part of the reason.
You hate the trying to find something to watch part?
Yeah, I don't like to do it. I only watch stuff on the internet if I already know something I want to watch, and I, like, go to watch that. But I'm never going to be like, I want to watch something. It's like, I hate that experience more than almost. Like, I hate that so much. I won't do it.
That's why it's good.
I always know what I want to watch.
We have been also dabbling in I Love Lucy, which has been very fun as well.
Oh, hell yeah.
Oh, that's a
I have
wild
to
trip.
say, that show is very funny.
Good shit.
Lucille Ball is genius.
She's really fucking funny.
Yeah, she really, really is.
Lucille
Changed
Ball,
TV.
truly funny. Like, gets LOLs from me.
I recommend watching her appearance on the Dick Cavett show where she's like 60 and on obscene amounts of cocaine.
She having a good time?
She's having a very fast time.
Very fast.
Back in that time when
She's already
everyone
fast
on
lady.
TV was on cocaine.
You want to talk about chapter 8?
Yeah, I wonder
If
where
anybody
we
has
should
something to say
start.
about chapter 8.
Food for the gods.
Oh, we're in Limna now. I did not read. I was back.
So when they throw, like, the animal carcasses down, the gods eat them. And the
Mhm.
gods are dogs. So they are, in fact, sacrificing to the gods.
Yeah, in a
But
way.
The dogs are also kind of like anti-gods. So that's
Right,
why
they're described
dog
as
is
being like
God
devil-like.
backwards. There's also kind of an echo of the Alzabo here.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're not exactly dogs. They're like mad hyenas.
Yeah.
Which is also, of course, an echo of Anubis up in old Kemet.
Hmm. like hell dog.
Yeah,
They
like
got the,
Cerberus.
they're in the underworld.
Yeah. So literally.
Yeah.
Underworld.
Which paradoxically is closer to the surface of the ship.
Right.
So the
Now,
underworld
speaking of all
gods are
this,
dogs.
it's interesting that there isn't more lore amongst the citizens living in the world about the underworld. Like, wouldn't this more explicitly play into their religion and understanding of the world?
I don't
Like, I guess,
think most of them know about the tunnels, though.
well, that's what I'm saying. I'm surprised that a that no. Oh, I'm not surprised that nobody knows about it because that seems like by design. But I am surprised that there aren't like stories about hell. Like an underworld.
Well, if the people that made their religion don't want them messing around down there, they're not going to invent a hell for the religion.
Right. Yeah.
Also, I mean, the whole concept of hell as punishment is kind of new.
Right.
Like that's only. But before that, a death was just kind of like you existed as a shadow of yourself.
What
Right.
is Sheol?
Jewish afterlife.
Oh.
That's much more like Hades, where you're just kind of like a fading memory of yourself.
And who goes there?
Jews.
All of them?
I mean, this Jen should
Yeah.
really take these questions, I
There's
guess.
no like.
I don't know
there's
that
no,
much,
like.
honestly.
That's the thing. I also get the impression that Jews just kind of don't care about
Yeah.
this.
It's
No
not a
one
big deal.
fucking talks. No one fucking talks about that. You have to be like a real nerd who's like just like into the mythology or something, and you have to like look it up for yourself. But like, I mean, maybe if you are Orthodox, they're maybe more into the like that's granular stuff. But and I mean, I grew up pretty observant, but nobody talks about. Everyone just talks about like earthly life. I mean, that's like mostly Judaism is about earthly life.
Yeah, they don't have a life after death kind of thing.
I mean, I don't know. It's just not. It's not like if there is. And my point is like if there is, it's not. It doesn't weigh heavily in the religion, in the practice of the religion. And also, I mean, it's like you have Yom Kippur every year. Like you're supposed to like deal with accounts every year. Like if you do it the right way, it's not like at the end of your life you're judged for your whole life, like because you've been doing that once a year and like clearing the slate, where you like atone for whatever you've done that year, you ask forgiveness for that, you forgive yourself for it, and then you move on. Very practical, I might say.
Yeah, but in Christianity, you can ask for forgiveness literally at any moment and be completely absolved.
Yeah, but you have to do it truly in your heart. You can't just pay lip service to it. If you just do it with your words, then
who
you're still
evaluates
roast
that?
in hell.
There is an element of it's go and sin no more after that absolution. So
Nuh-uh.
I
mean, it's acknowledged that is inevitably going to fail. But
right,
if you aren't truly trying to sin no more in your heart, then your what's it called? Reconciliation wasn't true.
That's not what I heard. I heard if you go out and burn down a bunch of houses and kill a bunch of people, and then you say, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry about it," and then you died, you would go to heaven.
There are different kinds of Christianity.
If you say it in your heart, you can't just say it.
But I guess part of the
okay,
part
I'll
of
say
the,
it in my heart.
I guess what I'm
God doesn't work that way. God's in your heart, so you can't just lie about it.
I guess the difference I would draw is like you still have this thing. There's still this like external judge in that scenario, and in Judaism, it's like it's just like whether you're good with yourself or not, which is the same if you take what Connor just said, like God is in your heart, but it's not used that way in Christianity. I think it's more explicit in Judaism that like in the like practice of Christianity that's externalized. to like
Judaism is just
by
essentially
God when
less
you die.
hierarchical.
What?
Judaism is less essentially hierarchical.
Supposed to be not hierarchical.
Right.
Seems like there's a lot. Everything's kind of tied to the body and the sort of physical being.
Well, and like you and yourself and how you. It's like, I mean, because you're supposed to ask forgiveness of whoever you feel like you've wronged, but you also have to forgive yourself for it. It's like, it's not just asking forgiveness of them. You have to forgive yourself. That's like part of the whole thing. So, I'm just saying it's more explicitly about like self-acceptance and self.
Which Christianity would be too if it were not for the insidious Saint Paul.
Yeah.
Who is the person who introduced the whole idea of hierarchy and all that into it, because it was being used to placate a rebellious populace.
Yeah, I'm saying like I think that they're more similar. They should be more similar than not, but in practice, it gets weird because of
I think that's true.
the state and the church and whatever.
Also, like I know what Tim's talking about, because when I would get dragged to like youth group and stuff, they would always give us these like terrible plays that were like, I'm a bad dude. I'm a bad dude. And then the bad dude's friend being like, hey man, but did you ever talk to Jesus Christ? And the dude's like, what are you talking about? And he's like, let's forgive your sins right now and ask Jesus into your heart. And the bad dude's like, all right. And then they immediately die. And then they're in heaven and they're like, well, bad dude, you killed your entire family. But 5 minutes ago, you just asked Jesus for forgiveness, and now you get to go to heaven. So I see what Tim's talking about.
I mean, I see what Tim's talking about, but I would also like to point out that one time in history, the Catholic Church got way too into that idea, and it caused Protestantism. So, like, it is demonstrably a thing.
Yeah.
That if you make that sin, you're going to get punished for it.
Like, there's different kinds of Christianity, and those were like born again, whatever. I don't even know what that is. What that's
Evangelicalism.
Okay.
They often call themselves non-denominational.
Yeah.
The ones who are like...
There are also evangelical denominations.
Mm-hmm.
Like people who had insane parents who like did terrible things, and then their parents, when they turned like 50, find God, and then they're like, well, we're just a good family now, and you can't swear anymore. Like, that's what born-again Christians are like.
Yeah. That's a huge part of like why boomers adopted evangelicalism so hard, is because they were oftentimes very shitty human beings throughout their lives. And like,
Tim, are you advocating?
Like,
are you advocating?
I need to forgive myself immediately.
Are you saying that forgiveness is a scam and that we should perhaps do away with it?
No.
Yeah, but true forgiveness is
in a way.
But that people who were bad in the past we should assume they're always bad.
No, but they like, this is a different, more insidious thing that maybe you haven't experienced, because they try to retcon the past. It's not, we're good. Okay, I said like we're good now, but it's not. It's, we've always been good. My grandmother, like, used to be an insane person, and now you're not allowed to play cards at her house.
We're also describing a system where, because I've been forgiven and I'm a good person now, I'm allowed to do sinful things against people who aren't good. I can be shitty as I want to those people because I'm better than them. So it's not even really atonement for sin. It's just justification of sinning against those people. Right?
And I don't think that's explicitly
like everything about it is hollow.
I think it's just the like self-righteousness that comes from like doing all of like the pageantry and gravitas surrounding this thing where you like stand next to a dude who's like has an electric guitar, you know what I mean? And you stand in front of the congregation and you're like, I used to be a piece of shit, man, but I'm so good now. And everyone's like, that's amazing. And now all of a sudden you're like the coolest person in the world and the best person in the world. Right? Like, it gives you like this sense of entitlement to like have had this like really benign ritual.
I also want to say that it can work too. Like
Sure.
I think that there's a therapeutic value in forgiving yourself and going through the process of a ritual reconciliation
Yeah, that's the thing that
and
Jen's talking about.
therapeutically
The
allow
thing that
people
I'm
to forgive
talking about
themselves.
is like, I'm cool now.
Right, right. The whole tribal "are you in or are you out"
Yeah.
thing. But
Yeah.
the thing that actually is rooted in hate rather than in forgiving yourself, that doesn't work.
Mhm.
And no one should
And
be
it's just
confessing.
taking the guilt you feel over what you've done and
Absolutely.
weaponizing it against some other person.
Nobody should be confessing in public. I feel like the New Testament is very explicit about that. That
Yeah,
like
I don't think
do it in
anyone
your
like
closet.
explicitly says, right? Do they say? I don't know. You know, I watched this stuff happen when I was like 10, so
no,
Hmm.
and it was weird as shit.
I think the thing you're describing, the like righteous gemstones setup, it's like it's in theater. It's encouraged for people to come up and give up the most melodramatic possible story about their conversion, and
And I
then
mean,
Oh yeah,
it's
yeah, they
it's
like talk about yeah, they do talk about that. You're right.
yeah,
it's tent revival-y, and it's a grift. It's where we have this shill say, I've done these bad things, and now that I've been forgiven, I don't feel compelled to do bad things anymore. So that people are like, oh, I want to not be compelled to do bad things. I'll do whatever the hell it is that they're selling. I'll buy this soap.
If only there were a way for me to act not in my self-interest.
Right.
Well, oh well. Guess I'll have to like
It's transactory. And that all pops up in real interesting ways. I mean, shriving is an important part of this section of the larger work. Long Sun people are always being shriven, and the story turns on it often.
And they buy
And then also, like, going to church is transactional. You get food from it.
or you buy stuff to take there.
Well,
The
even
other
then, you
side.
get a portion.
Yeah, but I'm just saying there's like the two sides of the transaction.
Mhm. But in the sharing of food part of it, like, your transaction is also forging a community, which is interesting. Which is, from what I understand, the role that this whole thing played in classical Greek society.
I thought it was interesting, and that maybe this is in chapter 9, but Silk is talking to Hammerstone, and Hammerstone's like doing all the math about like numbers of people. Um, and Silk says that the idea is that the mansions are supposed, for every 5,000 people in the city, there should be one mansion, and but it's probably closer to like 6 or 7,000 people realistically. And I was like, this is like a much larger church than I had anticipated. There's, I don't know, I guess like the way that it's rendered feels so like intimate and like it's like very immediate to its surrounding. But it turns out that they're serving maybe 7,000 people in some capacity. I guess not all of those people go to church.
yeah, not all at the same time ever. Imagine nobody goes to like they have a different God for every day. I
Right.
imagine nobody goes to every service every week.
Well, and also you would only have to send, each family would send one representative too. Everybody doesn't necessarily have to go.
It seems really fun to like be able to be like, who am I going to? Whose church am I going to this week? I guess I'm free on Skilla Day, so maybe I should start skillifying myself in preparation for that being my church day. Make myself acceptable to Skilla when I show up.
My mother and I always went to church on Saturday.
Why?
because it was more convenient.
Get it in early.
Because you're a Capricorn.
Yeah, right. She's Aquarius. Yeah, you can go. You can go to church on Saturday at 5 o'clock at night, and she felt like going to church at 10 o'clock on Sunday was in the middle of the day. It ruins everything.
That's a really good point. It really does.
Yeah.
Take the whole morning.
Which for my mother, the morning is the middle of the day because she got up at 4 a.m.
Right.
Well, we always had services on Saturday morning, obviously.
Yeah.
You could go on Friday night, but the Friday night one was like a real short one, but the Saturday morning one was like a big one, and that one was.
Yeah, that's another point. This for Catholics, the Saturday night one is shorter. It usually has less wailing babies at it. It's for old people, not young families.
You all
But
think
the people who went Sunday morning looked a lot better.
do you think you're going to go to religious services regularly in your lives again? Connor, Jen, Ryan?
I had a spate of that 2015 to 2017, and that was enough for me. I mean, I do my own religious services, and they rule.
Right. But I'm talking about going to a place. No, I'm just curious.
If Connor starts a religion, I will.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I mean, I do it when the opportunity presents itself, but I don't like have a plan to.
We do this at the time that people do church.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. on a
Yeah,
Sunday.
this is church.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's very true.
I mean,
like, more similar to like this is kind of what the Quakers do, as I understand it. It's just kind of sit in silence until they have something to say.
Well, the thing is, a lot of people get into it later in life is the thing. And so that's why I'm like, this is like a recurring theme in our discussions. And, maybe not even now, maybe not 10 years from now, but maybe 20 years from now.
I'm on a different trajectory than that.
I think that's what happens when people can't make their own meaning.
Well, it's also like that's what happens when somebody hasn't come to it yet. Like I can't come to it at that time because I already was at it and have moved through it to another thing. Like when I was going with Allison to that weirdo church, one of the problems I had the whole time was like, I don't need the priest here. All these people like feel like you need the priest here, but like I can do all the things for myself that this priest is doing for them.
Yeah.
But that's because I was doing this the whole time, and people who haven't, I can see where they need the priest to get themselves in the mindset to have the trippy thing work.
I definitely keep being right on the precipice of trying to do a regular attendance again. And the reasoning for me is like I don't want it to disappear from the world, but if I don't go, then like I'm kind of, like that's a real stupid thing to not want if you don't go.
Yeah.
So I feel like I owe it.
I will say that when you start going, you get real frustrated real quick.
I don't know that I would be in that same boat.
I understand that feeling, but the frustration comes from a place you don't expect, I think.
I do think also I have a lot more self-doubt than you, Connor, which makes me more susceptible to things in the process that you're not. Maybe.
I also think that you have a problem with authority.
Yeah, but I feel like the worm has turned such that like the authority of the church no longer represents like the authority of the principal or the senator.
Well, their tone of voice is the same though. I mean, it'll be a fun experiment. You'll go to church and we'll see who wins.
And I guess I really like critiquing homilies.
Yeah, it's really fun. And that's exactly where I started being like, I'm not going to fucking pretend like you were the ones who came up with this goddamn story.
But what I mean,
Right.
you know,
That's why you don't like it, Connor. I mean, you're kind of like a mystic and a scholar, and so when you go in there, you just kind of feel like I got this, like I'm way ahead, like this is a waste of my time. And it sounds
Well, no,
like
I don't think it's a waste of my time. I think that it's a technology that works. I just don't need to pretend when we're off stage.
sure, sure. And then Ryan, you're more maybe more like open in like an anthropological sense, or just like or and that probably has some tie to some sort of something within you that is genuine and like maybe would be interesting for you to do.
I guess
But
like I associate
might be
going to church and like having like any kind of traditional religious practice with like deprecating your own inclinations for a little while to like get what you get when you don't like elevate your own inclinations. You know that it's like a exercise of a certain kind of muscle where like it's not meeting your like immediate conscious desires, and that's part of what is like good about having that place is that you go and you get into a mindset where maybe my inclination is that I like follow 6 days of the week is one thing, and then there's other stuff besides
yeah.
other things that
Yeah.
might influence my behavior.
Interesting.
Like humbling yourself, I guess, is it's like the atmosphere, the candles, the smell, the stained glass, the like height of the ceiling, the architecture, the way people talk and sing, like the whole thing I feel like is conducive to when it's done, right. It's conducive to feeling humbled.
Yeah, it's just also if you can find a person that you can trust to be humbled to, like when you find that you're humbling yourself to a system that's being run by someone who you shouldn't be trusting.
But that's the opposite of humility. Is to be like, I know better than that guy, and I just
no,
do.
When you find that your life is being dedicated to something that you don't believe in,
I've never found
that's when you have to examine whether or not you should be humbling yourself to this system. And that's something that can easily happen.
It's not just the religious system though. Like part of the humbling part of going to a church in contemporary United States is like hanging out in a room with a bunch of like super normal people who haven't had religious experiences in theaters or with books and stuff, and so like you're just like part of middle America, like when you like step in there, if that makes sense, and like everyone's
Not
like
in the synagogue, baby.
What?
I said not in the synagogue, baby. You literally just like sing the whole time, and then you eat lunch, and then you sing some more after everyone's had a shot of Crown Royal.
That is also exactly what the Catholics do.
It hasn't been my experience, but I don't know. Like,
are you sure you didn't go to like a Presbyterian church?
I think I Catholic churches, yeah, growing up.
I will say this: I had a really good friend when I was in elementary, middle school, who was Catholic, and I would go to mass with her sometimes, and I thought it was super boring.
Yeah, it's supposed to be.
It's very slow. That's not how the Jewish one is. The Jewish one, I'm saying, the chanting is a lot more fun.
Also, the more into Catholicism you are, the more it is like a Jewish synagogue. Like if you have a small church that is not really that Catholic, it ends up more like your middle America Methodist church. The more it's a bunch of people who care about being Catholic, the more like there's people walking around and talking, and there's a big meeting happening downstairs, and you chant the whole time. The less serious they are about Catholics, the more you get rid of chanting, the more you bring in the Protestant part of the Our Father and stuff like that. You get rid of the Latin.
Oh yeah,
Bells and
Jewish
bells
ones
and everything that make it that
all
put you in the
Hebrew
right
whole-
mindset. You get rid of all that.
The Jewish ones, it's Hebrew the whole time.
Yeah.
As it should be. Because that's
And
the
when a
language.
Catholic's doing it right, it's in Latin and it feels very similar.
Yeah.
I grew up Methodist. I can't. I can't identify.
You had
I
to
grew
go
up with
to a
great
worship
freedom.
center.
There he is.
Oh,
He doesn't know how to stand up that
funny.
well.
It's only been like a couple days since they've been out in the house, so they're still like figuring out their.
Where is
their
the mom?
things. She's upstairs. I
Oh,
have
you still have her?
What?
You still have her?
Yeah, I'm trying to find a home for her. I think I got to the point yesterday where I was like, if I don't find a place for her in a week from now, I think I might have to like pass her to another foster person because it's just like Kenny's room. I don't think I can have a litter box in Kenny's room for very much longer. I think he really wants his room back.
Wait, are you saying you have two now and one of them might go?
No, I have 2 kittens and then the mom.
Oh.
I'm trying to find a home for the mom. Which I thought would be quick because she's very cute and very nice. But apparently, and I thought we were still in the phase where everyone's trying to find pets. Like COVID has been like, I want a pet, I want a pet.
Oh, I've heard that there's been a lot of dogs go into shelters lately.
Oh, because they got them a year ago. Like,
Yeah.
oh yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
people are getting rid of their pets now.
Yeah.
No, we're in the other swing of the cycle.
I haven't heard about it happening with cats. Only
But
with
I
dogs.
have heard that that Barks and the SPCA and Barks foster programs are back open, so I think I could probably pass her to someone else who could look after her until she finds a home. If
I live
don't-
right near the SPCA.
Yeah. Or that's what the rescue person I've been working with said to me. She was like, if you get to the point, like, we can find her another spot. And I think these guys keep wrestling on top of all of the cables and, like, pulling the computer around.
Hammerstone
yeah.
has a cat in the
If you
chapter
know-
9.
So
If
does
you know
Data.
someone who wants a cat, let me know. She's cool.
It was really great, that story about Hammerstone's cat. I was on the edge of my seat because I was worried it might die, and it didn't, and it was such a fucking, like, a relief. And I was trying to remember, I feel like that happened earlier in this story, in this book too, where there was a story where I knew it was of no consequence really, and it was completely fictional, and yet I was frightened for the harming of an animal. I feel like that's happened more than once, and it's kind of like a little mini Abraham and Isaac kind of thing that Wolfe does with little animals throughout the Long Sun. Where suddenly an animal that he's talking about is your kid, and you're like, oh god, oh man, is this cat gonna burn to death on a fucking hot shell casing? And then it lives, and you're like, oh my god, I love the feeling when it lives. I feel good. It's not even a real cat, and I feel good that it lived.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm interested to see where the other part is.
I mean, we already, I feel like we passed it. I'd have to go back
Right,
and
but
look at
what
those.
was it? What was the part?
I don't think it was. I can't
What
remember.
Orb not dying?
Was it Oreb? I feel like there was even a
Oh, but
less.
that was real. That wasn't fictitious. That was real.
I feel like there was a less consequential animal near death.
Yeah.
But I can't remember what it was now. Well,
Hey, can we talk for a moment how, except for horses, all animals seem to talk for Gene Wolfe? You never see an animal that doesn't talk, except for horses.
Well, and the dogs in the tunnels don't talk.
Do they not talk? Don't they have voices at
Yeah,
one point?
in chapter 8, before Silk knows what they are, he describes them as like devils that are like
Yeah.
kind of mirthfully feasting on themselves. The first description by their noise makes it sound like they're little like humanoids for sure. So they might not be saying words, but he mistakes them for something much more intelligent than dogs.
Yeah.
Oreb talks, the Catacrest talks, Alzabos talk, rats write.
Mm-hmm.
Like he really likes, like, I don't think that he sets out to be like, well, all the animals who eat meat, all are going to be able to talk. But I think that it's just something he likes so much that they always just happen to be talky.
I wonder what kind of pets he had in real life. I'm kind of assuming. Well, this is maybe going way too far, but I was kind of assuming that the Hammerstone story might have been based on something he saw happen when he was in the army. Either he or somebody else being like, "There's a stray cat. I'm gonna start feeding it," and then it's like his little buddy, and then there's a funny kind of mishap with a hot shell casing. It was such a weirdly specific story. It made me think, Gene's been in the army. I wonder if this is a thing.
How does Data get his cat?
What's that cat's name?
In Star Trek?
That's the one.
Yeah.
Data.
Spot?
I don't remember.
How does he get the
Yeah,
cat?
Spot.
Spot?
Yeah.
Spot. Yeah.
Is it just a stowaway?
I think he just gets it. I think he's just like, one day he's like, I have a cat.
He
It's not
uses the
even a cat.
replicator. To make a cat.
Replicator.
No,
Maybe
the
it's a robot.
replicator.
Maybe it was a
Replicator.
robot the whole time.
Creates life.
And you guys are all familiar with the show Red Dwarf, right?
I read the
British
books,
show?
but I haven't watched much of the show.
I've watched it before.
It has a really great cat. Because the premise of the story is the like laziest man possibly in the universe gets in trouble on a mining ship and gets put in cryogenic stasis. But then there's an accident that kills everyone, and the radiation takes like 1,000,000 years to dissipate before the ship lets him out of cryogenics. Every human's dead. But the reason he went in to the cryogenics is because he smuggled a cat on board and refused, when it was found out, he refused to turn it over so it could be euthanized. And the cat, over those millions of years, evolved into an intelligent species. Because I guess it was pregnant, the one he pulled on board. So there was a whole cat civilization that like rose and fell while he was in the cryogenics. And only one member still remains on the ship, and it's a guy who kind of talks like James Brown and has a ton of outfits.
Oh yeah.
He's a very Zaphod Beeblebrox character.
He's a great character, the cat. He's very vain and he's easily distracted. And Danny John Jules, the actors who played him, went to his audition stayed entirely in that character the whole time, and they were like, here we go, this is the show.
That's cool.
Yeah.
He was like, I must be a cat.
Yeah, he knew exactly, like, okay, I'm playing a character evolved from a cat, and he had all the things, like, apparently right from the audition of, like, the James Brown-isms and the sort of very particular vanity that he ascribes to the cat creature. I look good. I look real good. Ow. Like, it's a trip.
That's cats, baby.
Yeah. That show also about living on a giant spaceship that has broken down. It was very important in forming my ideas about the universe.
I remember it was on PBS irregularly.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know, like I could never, it would, like, sometimes I would spot it in the wild on the 3-channel television my dad had, and like I would get like so excited, like, oh man, cool, like because I knew about the show, like I'd heard about it when I was like a little kid, I don't know how, but it like always sounded good, but you didn't have the internet, you didn't have access to things, and then every now and then like I would find it and then never understand it when I was watching it. Like it was way above my head. Like,
Well, it was also cuckoo cray cray. This is like peak BBC, so it's not
yeah,
gonna make sense.
Oh, but it
Yeah.
does make sense. It's like the
Right,
guys
but
that
to
are
a Brit, it doesn't make sense to an American kid who's used to watching Full House,
right.
it's like
who can only find like a third season episode.
Yeah, I experienced the show by one of my friends who was really into British stuff. I probably taped off of PBS a bunch of episodes, and she gave me the tape. And I remember just being like, I just don't even know what's happening. I don't even know what this is. And she'd be like, wasn't that amazing? And I was like, I don't know.
Yeah.
it's kind of like a greatest hits of sci-fi tropes where like every episode they take some famous trope like multiple like parallel dimensions or like genetically created organisms. They take something you've seen in other sci-fi and then they just do a weird twist on it. And yeah, there's lots of like
Yeah, I think I would like it
goofy
more now than I
gags.
did then.
Yeah.
Especially because I had a lot of trouble understanding British accents. And I just didn't even know what they were saying sometimes, and I think I'm better at it now.
I feel that the show is one of the most Taoist TV shows that I know of, in that it's very explicitly has the character that you sympathize with is the laziest man and who has like a kind of a vague dream of one day living and having a little farm on a flooded planet called Fiji or something, but like he's very kind of will go with whatever happens and he's not going insane really because he's just going with it. And then his ex-roommate by the book follows the rules, very interested in technicalities and loopholes to get ahead, super ambitious, like really wants to move up in his career, and that character is just fucking awful and totally like the butt of every joke. And I feel like that's a value system that's not often depicted well or at all on television.
I've been watching a lot of Buddhist speeches against productivity. And also scientists this past week released a paper in which they have a formula that proves the secret to happiness is lowered expectations.
Hell yeah.
They have a formula that proves that.
I can do it.
Yeah.
That's within my power.
Which I mean, that's just a scientific way of saying like release desire, which is Taoist. Heyo.
Taoism is it's just so sick.
Yeah, I love Taoism.
It really like kind of just like takes all of the biggest problems in religion and it's like, look, it's not tricky.
I like that thing about the woodcut of the three masters where the two like Confucius and whatever other dude are both tasting the soup and they're like, oh, it sucks, I hate it, and Lao Tzu is just like, yummy. Taoism is a religion where it's like, yeah, you can eat shit, it's fine. It doesn't matter, just get over it, dude.
Taoist saints are always like drunkards, like insanely contrarian pranksters, or like someone who's like so passive that no one can understand how they're alive.
But great mystics are always. There's a thing about a Sufi mystic riding through town on his donkey backwards, and somebody's like, "Master, what are you doing?" And he's like, "I'm looking for my donkey."
Yeah, the Sufis are real sick too. The Sufis have great stories.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some of the best, like, I feel like the Sufi books I have are really cool because you stumble on stuff that don't really have analogs. Like sometimes I forget what the guy's name is. There's like a stock it's like standard Schlemiel kind of character that's in a lot of the Sufi stories that is doing things that are just like above and beyond goofy for a religious
Like
tale.
Goofus and Gallant?
Yes, yeah. But there's no Gallant. I mean, or it's like the same dude where he's like, someone's like, what are you doing, Goofus? Oh shit, you're Gallant.
So cool.
Yes, Sufism often has a sacred clown.
Yes.
Robert Anton Wilson's son was studying to be a Sufi clown. Or maybe his daughter. It was one of those genders.
Man, that clown class that I took with Jordan a couple years ago was very like religious.
It was very good. Yeah.
Yeah. It really
Also Jungian.
Yeah. It really like the last day, I guess it was 3 days, and the last day it was like I felt like I was tripping. Like I suddenly had this view of myself from outside that I had no idea that what I was seeing was new to me, and also that I could be seeing that was new to me, and it was so.
I was tapping into something. I left that being like, I just tapped into something like really powerful, and I was like, I wonder how I'm going to like access this thing later, and the truth is that I would have not been able to. I don't even know what it was.
Yep. The sacred clown.
Yeah, I feel like I need to do that workshop a couple more times so that I can.
Yeah, I want to do it again, and he hasn't fucking come back.
Well, COVID has
But no, it was like we took it like 2 years before COVID, I think.
At least.
Yeah, 2017.
Yeah.
Is when we took over the theater.
Was it a Justin Durrell thing?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Man, I want to be a clown or a mime so bad. Like that's what my profession should be.
Oh man, there's an episode of Alan Partridge where they have these French political clowns on, and it's a whole other thing. It's such a good episode.
Oh, are you talking about Knowing Me, Knowing You?
Yeah.
Alan Partridge? Oh yeah, the French clowns on that show are really great.
They're amazing.
Yeah. They're
like really funny, but like so angry and mean. It's really good.
That sounds really good. I thought it sounded bad, but then you described it and it's not.
Well, I really liked it because when I went through my first clown workshop, I had a very angry clown.
Cool.
And I couldn't, like, for all the things where they were like, do something without making any noises, I just couldn't do it. I was just kind of like always at least grunting and growling. I was a scary clown.
There's lots of different kinds of clowns.
Mm-hmm.
And they're all scary.
Silk is kind of a clown.
I mean, in the classic sense of the clown as the like country bumpkin. Yeah. I think that Silk is very much a clown.
He's got a lot of Charlie Chaplin qualities, I feel.
Mm-hmm.
Certainly a fool. He's
floppy hat, walking stick.
Yeah, he's walking funny. He's like doesn't realize what he's getting himself into, and then he's kind of like, he's there with it.
Yeah, he's just Mr. Magooing about.
Mm-hmm.
Thinking silly things.
Yeah, misunderstanding a situation and then having like somehow that's saving his life.
This is the Mickey Mouse kind of thing. The American hero versus the American comedic hero versus the kind of old world British comedic hero, where the British comedic hero is just trying to fit in and do normal things, and they always go wrong, and you can't understand why. But the American is like not paying attention, and everything just works out for them, regardless of what of how oblivious they are.
Mm-hmm.
Candide type shit, right?
I really like
America, baby. We don't care.
I highly recommend the HBO
Silk
show
fails
Enlightened. They do
What was that, Ryan?
That show Enlightened with Laura Dern, written by Mike White, does a really modern take, I feel like, on like a modern sympathetic take on that American archetype of like the bad dumbass who's like more oblivious and stupid than everyone around them, but who like fails ass backwards into success, into like being what they want to be, even though they don't really have any idea. of
I couldn't watch that show. I've never been in an emotional place where I didn't find that show to be an assault on me.
oh, it
Whoa.
totally is. It's neat though, because oh man, it's one of the more hopeful shows. But the reason it's so hopeful is because it puts you in a horrible person's life,
Yeah.
and then they don't ever get better up here, but they start having a better effect on the world around them despite themselves, and it's kind of cool. It's like it's a little Severian-y, and then like if there's hope for this fucking idiot, maybe we'll be okay. Maybe any of us can be redeemed.
I mean, you can't. There's no redemption without sin. The more of an asshole you are, the more you can be redeemed.
When the shriving happens, and when we talk about like forgiveness and people like letting themselves off the hook and stuff, I think about like specifically like internet success people that I know, and how different I feel like their life would be if they verbalized things they felt bad about in private to somebody, rather than what I feel that like I think they're doing, which is to like take those things that they feel bad about and consider them to be private shortcomings that they feel bad about them, and to like pursue mercenary kind of like ambitious lifestyle because it's reinforced by everyone that they work with. And like if there had to be a verbalization of like, sometimes I feel like maybe we're stealing, like just to say it out loud would change that person.
I think that like viewing your sin as a shortcoming that you have to overcome is putting an emphasis on what you're going to do next, and allows you to ignore the important part of what you've done. And saying to someone else, I have done this, allows you to confront that you have done it in a way that in just your head. It's the same thing we were talking about when we were doing the writing workshop thing of like, or no, I was talking to Dina about it. But when you're just thinking about an art project in your head, it's one thing. And as soon as you try to explain what you're thinking about to someone else, it becomes a whole new thing that is easier to do. Like no matter how much you think about your project in your head, you don't know what it is. And when you have to try to explain it to somebody else, suddenly you're like, oh, now I know what it is, And I think that's what psychotherapy is now, is just like getting you to figure out what it is you need to admit that you've done often. Just getting you to say it out loud so that you can know that you've done it, because I think it's very easy to sublimate things so much that you don't realize like what it is that you're feeling.
It's interesting you say it. I've been thinking about this too this week, Connor, and I think a little bit inspired by the side discussion and when we were talking earlier this week about writing. And like, I actually thought of it as like an act of translation to yourself, like by you're articulating, which I think is a step in that. And then also like in the act of creation, you're not just building something, but you are again translating something from yourself to yourself and then to other people. But like in the act of making it, you're taking your thoughts and you're turning them into a thing in a similar way that someone sits down and takes one text and puts it into a language. You're putting it into a different language, which makes it more tangible.
Well, if I may dip into my own metaphysics for a second, I think inspiration comes from Beria, the emotional water world, the world of creation, which is too big to fit into words. Words are too small for those concepts to exist. So I think you need to translate them down into the intellectual, airy Yetzirah world of words in order to communicate them, which makes them smaller. And therefore, so you are translating this ineffable thing into an effable thing in order to discuss the ineffable thing.
It's like peeing into a machine, pressing a button, and then it comes out as drinking water.
Right. Like in the Kevin Costner classic.
Sorry.
There is
Oh my God,
a
you're
new
Waterfall, right?
that one.
there's a new cult growing up around that movie right now that I'm very excited about.
Really?
A cult.
There's been a cult.
Yeah,
Right, but there's a new upsurgence in popularity of Waterworld right now.
I have been thinking about watching that movie lately, I will admit.
I watched it fairly recently, and it's good. It's fun.
Mm-hmm.
It's an absurd movie, but I always enjoyed it.
I really love it.
I read the
I
novelization.
I have to find it. If any of you guys see a VHS copy at the thrift store, snap it for me.
I think that there might be one in my collection.
Yeah, when I had a VHS collection.
Might have a Waterworld kicking around.
I really want to watch it on my little tiny TV.
Yeah.
It also pairs well with The Postman.
That's the perfect kind of movie for that because it's good to see all the previews before it and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like a movie like that, you need the full time capsule.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
At the time,
Coming soon to MGM Video.
It was the most expensive movie ever made at that point.
Yeah.
They had to like build these massive pools to film everything in.
Oh, expensive. I thought you said offensive. And I was like,
There was something like they built all this stuff and then they tried to just like sink it in the ocean, but they couldn't do it. And so
I think they had to reshoot a lot of stuff.
I think there were weather problems too, right? Like they built all this stuff, and I think a lot of it was damaged.
I think
along
some
the way.
severely hurt.
Who was?
Some kind of idiot stuntman.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Riding a jet ski wrong for a movie.
Kenny sometimes talks about this alternate reality where he like moved to LA and became a stuntman.
That's a cool reality.
I could see it.
I could see
He's
that
like,
too.
I feel like if I had gone to LA when I was like 22, things would be a lot different.
I would have fallen off a lot more stuff there than I fall off of here.
He's like, I would just cut down palm trees and be a stuntman.
That's the kind of career where if you set your mind to it early on and you want to get into it, you probably can. You know what I mean?
You have the physical. If you have the physical inclination, I mean,
Yeah.
Right. Like if you want to do it and you train for it, I bet you could do it. Anyone can, get into that.
I mean,
Like they're in high demand.
yeah. I mean, you still have to have the physical ability to like do the stunts, though.
Right.
Yeah, you can't be like Mr.
Like
Glass from Unbreakable.
I'm just saying that, like, I don't know. You have to have a certain innate ability to do a job like that. It can't just be anybody.
Yep.
What's up, Quimby?
Oh, Quimby!
I saw
have
Quimby live recently.
I have the tiny Quimby.
Yeah. He looks just like Quimby when he was a baby.
Little baby Quimby.
Quimby knows me.
He does.
He recognizes me when
I
he
gave
sees
Connor a
me.
lamp and he came to get it, and Quimby ran out immediately and was like, Connor, where have you been?
It's pretty cool. I like Quimby.
I like Quimby. I haven't seen Quimby in years.
I've never seen Quimby in real life.
It's pretty sick.
He's a good boy.
Yeah, Clem. You're good.
He sounds even better.
See, I think we talked about everything in Chapter 8.
Everything in Chapter 8? What do you want to say about Chapter 9?
Chapter 9. There's lots to say.
Chapter 9, Chenille's drunk, right?
She's drunk and ate.
I get so sad when Chenille's drunk.
Yeah.
When she forgets that she is quitting everything and gonna be in a loving relationship with Ock. It makes me so sad.
Oh, there's this line I guess this is probably in chapter 8, but there's this line when Auk realizes that she doesn't remember what's happening, and it says, like, Auk realized at a young age to just go along with situations like this, or like something like that.
Which
Which
is
like
very
says so
Dallas.
much. It just says so much about
Yeah.
Auk's life and like what's happening in that moment.
And
That
it's
he
a
just said,
powerful
okay,
thing.
this person's wasted and I just have to go along with it, or else they're gonna fucking freak out.
Ox, the guy who's like talking down the dude on the bad trip at the festival.
Yeah, exactly.
Man,
Or
one time somebody tried to do that to me at Fields Fest, and I had to just straight up tell him like, "Hey, I'm not this guy for you today." Like it can't.
wait, like they tried to be that guy for you, or they wanted you to be that guy?
They were trying to make me be that guy. They were like, I'm like stuff's happening. Like I don't know. I can't. I need somebody to like to tell me what's going on here. I took and I was I was like, what'd you do? And the dude just like got to Fields Fest and on day one took every drug he had, and like, and I remember having
You just
to be
got to
like,
tell him this will end and then walk away as fast as you can.
yeah. I mean, I feel like I tried to. I was like, I know you're looking for this person, and I think you want it to be me because I'm right here right now, but I'm not going to be right here all night. I'm not even going to be right here very soon.
Not your problem.
And it was just like, probably not very silky of me to shirk that responsibility that the universe had thrust my way. But like, I was kind of offended that the dude took all his drugs on the first day of the festival, and then like,
You were offended.
yeah, I was offended. I was like, because this wasn't a young person.
So what? They can do whatever they want. They just don't. You don't owe them anything. They can do it if they want.
I mean, I feel like I might have helped them if they hadn't made that specific choice.
It's a
Well,
waste.
that's your choice.
It's a waste of like it's a waste of the day. It's a
Yeah.
waste of each drug he took.
Yeah,
You know, it's just a waste. Like, what was he thinking? What was gonna happen to him?
yeah.
Well, it's nobody's problem but his own, though. I
Exactly.
feel like.
But like, yeah, no, everyone's right.
Yeah, I knew I would just be frustrated about that wastefulness the whole time, and would would undermine the function I was.
Yeah, and now
supposed
he's
be
trying to
serving.
waste your time too.
Yeah,
Yeah, but he didn't. Ryan was able to get out of it just fine.
He's trying to.
yeah. I mean,
Whatever. Everybody's trying to waste everybody else's time. Let's just get that straight now. Whatever you think is important isn't important to anybody else.
I think that the existence of this book club is literal proof against that.
I would also
Is what?
like to.
It's
is
proof against that.
I would also like
Because
to.
we allow it. But like, if you haven't already entered into a social contract with any given person, whatever it is that's happening with you is a waste of their time until you can get them to agree that it isn't.
You make it sound like you have to trick people.
If you have to trick people, then that's your lot in life. You often don't. But if if somebody doesn't have a reason to give a shit about what you're doing, then you're wasting their time until they have a reason to give a shit about what you're doing.
Huh.
Something about this feels like extreme. This,
I just
But
don't
you're-
think that you should. I think that if somebody comes up and it says, I've done all my drugs, and you're able to be like, not me, dude, then whatever. There's no reason to be offended that they've done all their drugs. Everybody gets to do whatever they want. Should they be offended that you didn't do any drugs? No, that would be asinine of them.
I'm open to being persuaded that they could be offended about that.
I think I gotta say this is kind of blowing my mind because in every other episode of this show, you've talked about how everybody's going around and getting offended about shit too much, and everybody has to like put up with other people's use of shock value slurs and whatnot. But like at this point, I agree. People shouldn't get so offended about stuff, and here's an opportunity for you to not have to care about this. So why get offended?
I feel like it's a whole different sphere of
I know, that's what's blowing my
amazing.
mind, because I don't see how it's at all a whole different sphere.
I feel like word choice is doing a lot of work in this conversation to like
Always.
As usual,
create confusion. I think it's word.
the illusion of
specifically word
conflict.
choice. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
There ain't no conflict here. This ain't no discussion of consequence, my friends.
This ain't no discussion of consequence.
Oh, so you think we're wasting each other's time? Is what you're saying?
I'm
Yeah.
saying that any given person, anything that's happening in your life, is
Something
wasting their time until you've entered into a social contract with them.
Something about that seems like it presupposes like a nihilism and a lack of meaning that then like an artificial meaning is created through what you're calling a social contract.
Well, it's kind of humbling, you know, like you only matter to the people with whom you share a system, but like you don't have to worry about people outside of your system, and they don't have to worry about you. And you just have to remember that when somebody comes up and says something to you on the street, unless they're able to ensnare you into their system, that you don't have to worry about that person anymore.
Ensnare you.
I mean, but does the
Like you can decide to worry about that person, but if somebody cuts you off on the street and you're able to get through it, then you don't have to spend the next 2 days cursing out that person. And I feel like being offended that this guy came up and said, I took all my drugs, and you were like, wow, dude, and then walked away. Like, that's
No.
the same kind of thing to me.
Okay, none of
But
that
still
happened.
would be worried
I wasn't
about it.
offended that he came up to me. I was offended that he wasted all his drugs.
Right, but that didn't even occur in your life.
He thinks it's like gauche. You know, is that the word? It's gauche.
Yeah.
Yeah,
conceal
I
your
don't.
drugs.
I don't agree with that kind of thing, is what I'm saying. There is a conflict here. It's just because I disagree. I don't think that there's any need to consider people gauche.
Okay,
I'll
that
shoot.
aside, I mean the reason is that it's fun to have standards, but the other thing here, though, is that like, what about when the universe sends you people, like gives them to you, and then they don't necessarily make sense or like present themselves in a way that immediately tells you why they've been sent to you or what could be done with it. But Silk, like when he runs into it, if a person cuts him off on the street, he does spend 2 days thinking about it, not cursing them out, but perhaps wondering or testing different possibilities of what the meaning of that interaction was, or why that person might have been steered his way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I feel like you would laugh at this.
Oh no, I do that, but I don't judge them. I'm not offended by that person. I ponder it. I don't worry about it. It's not my concern. I'm not like, that person did this, and I'm not like, what am I gonna do about that person?
Did you think that's how I was being about Bill?
I think that you were offended that this man took his drugs.
Yeah, but being offended doesn't mean.
Okay.
It sounds like more like a Seinfeld level of offense than
Yes.
like a, I don't know, Andrew Dice Clay level.
Yeah,
Good
it's like
distinction.
if a man shit his pants and came up and was like, "What do I do? What do I do about this? Can you draw a picture or something for me? A series of diagrams?" Like, that level of offense of being like, "No, I'm not gonna draw you a picture of what to do with this shit in your pants. Get out of here."
Okay.
I missed the first part of this conversation, and so everything that has happened since has not made any sense to me.
Good.
I'm just eating string cheese, y'all.
It's like eating peas one at a time.
Basically, Ryan just said that he encountered a dude who did a bunch of drugs and was like, "Dude, that was dumb. You shouldn't have did all your drugs at the same time." And then Connor was like, "Why are you judging that guy?"
All right. You want to talk about the book?
Okay, wait, can we go back to chapter 8 a little bit? In the uh, on page 427, I think Silk has this dream,
Yeah.
and a bunch of stuff happens in it. It actually, it's pretty packed with weird imagery. But the one thing that stood out to me was the structure, the wall-less structure. Do you all know what I'm talking about?
I'm gonna
So,
find it.
um, he's walking. No, he's not even walking. He's being carried to a structure, I think, on like a some kind of uh, carriage or something.
You write a litter.
And it's being carried by old men, and they go up to a large white structure without walls, whose roof was of thin white slats set on an edge a hand's breadth apart. And inside of it, there's so much white furniture, there's no room to walk. What up with that?
It's like a
What?
gazebo. What's the...
You see that?
Yeah. Come and sit down at all this.
Is Silk having a vision of the future right now?
What? Where are we at?
The dream in chapter 8.
Can you check page?
Yeah, 427.
Or back in 8?
Yeah.
I just wanted to touch base on that little
Yeah.
side there. Like, I guess my question was just like if anyone had any theories about like what was being described there and what that's.
It sounds like it's a it's sort of like a gazebo or something. Like
Yeah, I guess that's what I thought. Yeah, it's just a weird way of putting it.
like
Why would
Yeah.
a flatted roof that I guess
Yeah,
probably doesn't provide any actual like coverage or anything. Just full of furniture. I don't know. It reminds I don't know how well I read the description of the shrine that he gets into this book from, but it seemed like that was sort of like a different kind of iteration of that, right? Like it's sort of like all white stone that was cut and like holding up a dome.
I think so. It's how I picture it with columns.
I don't know. It's like maybe kind of a similar, or it seemed to me to be kind of an echo of that, but it's obviously different.
Yeah,
It's weird because it's got no walls and the slats are a hand's breadth apart and it's raining, but we don't hear about the rain going into the gazebo.
no, it does.
Yeah, they sit in the rain,
Yeah.
shivering.
They chose. Okay, yeah, the next paragraph.
So it's just like an open air.
Yeah, I guess that's an aspect of it is that they're in a structure and it's also raining and the structure isn't providing shelter from the rain.
Yeah, that's I think that's key to this structure.
Yeah. Okay.
And like there's old men have brought him there and one of them's blind.
Yeah.
I mean, it seems like this is the failure of this is the church slacking in its duties to the people of the world, yeah? Like the world's breaking and Silk's the only motherfucker in the church who's like helping anyone move on, and he doesn't even actually have a handle on what he's doing or how to do it yet.
Yeah. Or it's a structure that's being built. It's in the process of being built or in the process of being deconstructed.
You wouldn't. The furniture would always be the last thing to go in or the first thing to come out.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it
Yeah.
says that the canopy was old and torn and faded.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, but that's the canopy
That's
of
a-
the litter.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
Oh.
Oh, yeah.
In the paragraph right before that, he goes and sees Mint, who's supposed to be sick, but she's like wearing like a sheer nightie,
Mhm.
and she has a metal body. Is that Mint's the one that's not a Kim?
Marble. It doesn't say anything about mint in this paragraph.
The paragraph before?
Paragraph before?
It says marble. It never says mint in this whole section.
Oh,
I have Mint.
Copy,
Yeah.
In my copy, it says Mint.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Yeah. This is like a. It might be the first
It's
edition.
I have a ebook and it's in mine too. It says mint, and then the canopy, the litter is possibly belongs to Marble, but Maytera Mint's in bed, and then Maytera Mint gets out of bed. And I think this is something. This is something I brought up last time. Does yours actually say Marble was in the bed sick?
Maytera Marble bed sick, and he was briefly got out of it. He'd forgotten that no mail. Blah 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 blah. Maytera Marble got out of bed.
What?
Well, that's really different.
That's really different because I had said last week that I thought a whole part of chapter 8 was that once he enters the underground, things start becoming inverted. And that this was one of my examples of that happening, was that suddenly Mint has the metal
It
body.
makes a
wonder
lot
if
more
anyone's
sense
talked about
for it
that.
to be Marble in this context.
But it's a dream he's having in the underworld. I thought it was like a really big tell that he was
It's
imagining.
really fucked. It's really fucked that they would be different.
Gene must have made a mistake, I guess, or decided he wanted it to be different after the first edition.
Oh, okay.
anyone
So
else
you have a first
in the-
edition, Mark?
Barada,
Has
yeah,
Laura
this-
Meany talked about this? Like, has anyone else talked about this?
Possibly.
Are we the ones to discover this?
Anyone in the chat? Is anyone in the chat?
Nope.
Wolfpack
I mean-
exclusive.
It says no, nobody.
That's really weird.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, maybe it wouldn't have come up before if it wasn't a group read. I mean, how is it going to come
Yeah.
up unless you have 6 people all looking at the same page at the same time?
Yeah.
Yeah, and usually everybody's gonna have a similar edition at least. That's in the past we've all had those basically the same edition.
This one, yeah.
Yeah, but this is the first time all of my Long Sun books are like this. So I haven't noticed any other. I don't know. I mean, we haven't had it happen before, but I'm curious what the differences are.
Which one? Which?
There's probably a lot more because this is a pretty mundane little
It's a
detail,
small
even though
thing.
it's actually quite important. I mean, the implication here is that he intended it to be Marble, if this was a Wolfe revision, assuming that it is.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Is I wonder, was this somebody else in the process? Of
Right.
Like,
An editor came in and
copy
was
editing,
like, "Oh no,
being
no,
like-
no! It's Marble with the metal body."
yeah.
What page are you in this one?
208.
Oh no. Oh, this is a different one than yours. Oh wait. Then this is a different one from yours too.
It's
Is
the
that-
same cover,
Which
but
printing?
It's
though?
Rose in that one.
It's Rose. Yeah, that would be so sick.
yeah,
I'm like, now I gotta look.
it's in chapter 8, right?
8, right?
A steep hillside.
Oh god, it's mint, and then it switches to marble.
Oh, it says one. Oh, it says one and then the other.
Yeah.
Wait, does it say Mint was in the
What?
bed and then
Mint, marble.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's how it is in mine.
That's how it is in
Okay.
mine too.
He feels like the litter is marbles, but
Right.
the person that he sees when he goes to the bedroom is bent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It makes so much more sense for it to be Marvel.
But it's a dream. Why does it need to make sense?
Well, but his dreams are always kind of like related to impressions of the world.
I think that switching, like flipping something, makes complete sense in a dream. Like, because
But
I mean,
that doesn't usually happen in the dreams.
but he's underground now. Like he's in the place where dogs are gods. He's in the place where like there's a woman, there's a dead body that the robot says later is a woman in man's clothes. Like I feel like in the underworld there's like a whole lot of these inversions of weird things that are the opposite way that they are above ground. And I think, the dream world, the underworld are the same thing to a pagan. And so like that dream logic and underworld logic connects. This is my explanation. It's mint for me. I'm stuck on this. Like that's what my book said, and I like it so much better than it being marble.
Yeah.
Like
a metal mint is so much cooler than a sexy marble.
It's so weird. It's so fucking weird.
All right.
Later on in the books,
it's weird that it's different.
This thing happens where, like, the thing with Marble taking some of Rose's parts and then talking about her having other people's parts and kind of having their personalities. So I wonder if this is, like, foreshadowing and kind of, like, blurring between the Mayteras. I don't know. No, probably not.
Well, I think definitely in, like, it's the particular language of dreams that things run into one another, and that, like,
and in The Sopranos, which has, like, the best dream sequences of any filmed media ever, there's this part where, like, his daughter's fiance, he's having dinner with his daughter and her fiance, but the fiance keeps switching to his son. Like, they keep switching the actors, which I thought was very dreamy. Super dream.
Yeah, the Sopranos dreams are cool in that they're, like, it's believable that Tony would think he was just awake. I like that in their representation of dreams. That instead of it being like, where am I? It's always like, it seems totally normal, and then a fish talks or something, and I feel like that is a good way of doing dreams that's not super common.
Yeah, everything's presented as this is factual and not, he's never like, huh.
Yeah, or there's no like soft focus or like mists or anything. Like it's shot just like the way reality is shot in the show. But oh god, that show gets bad once the Mad Men guys start writing it. They just completely change all the characters' personalities.
When is that?
It's when suddenly Tony has like a weird romantic obsession with Melfi again out of nowhere at the beginning of like season 4, I think maybe it is. Suddenly like a whole bunch of characters' personalities change to like support a new arc.
Okay.
And the big one is like suddenly Tony loves Melfi again out of fucking nowhere. We did this, but now we got to do it again. It's like the new Muppets. It's like
I didn't realize that they got new writers.
Yeah, there was a big writer handoff.
Mad Men. I never saw that, and I'm not going to.
I missed it too.
I don't really like stories that are about a mysterious past that someone's lying about.
Is that what Mad Men's about?
That's a big arc of it. It's like,
cool.
Who is this guy? Who is he really? Why is he lying about himself? You'll find out if you keep watching.
Oh, some people I've heard people talking about like D.B. Cooper in relation to that show, and that kind of makes it make sense.
Oh,
okay.
People say that about Dale Cooper too. Although it's less on the nose with him.
Yeah.
It's funny that people love DB Cooper.
Dale Cooper's
Yeah, it
middle name
is, but
begins
he's
with a
cool.
B. So Dale Cooper's name is Dale B. Cooper.
Yeah,
DB Cooper.
I think there's been quite a bit of Lynch scholarship that's like pretty definitively said that that's why Dale Cooper is Dale Cooper, is because of an affection for DB Cooper.
That's cool. I like that.
Well, right after this dream in chapter 8, we see Mukor again, but like she's not like possessing anything.
No, but there is a screen. They do mention
Yeah, she's on water.
that there's a screen that Silk missed at the beginning of the shrine.
Right.
Just because for our tracking, I'm tracking screens in Mucor. Not taking sides on that issue. I love that we have two people on opposite sides of it. I'm trying.
But is water is considered a screen, right?
Right.
That's another thing. Yeah. So.
And it says that she's like floating above the water, but then it says that she like gives out a light or something, like that she like leaves a light behind, which is strange.
Yeah.
Is that in the dream?
Light like slime.
I don't know.
There's some glowworms happen. He kicks some glowworms at one point in this chapter too.
Yeah, it could be like some bioluminescence.
Yeah.
If she's in his head, she can make him see whatever she needs him to see.
Good point. Good point.
Like the video game version of Long Sun, she's the tutorial. Follow Mucor.
The
Jumbo.
tutorial that happens halfway through the game.
I mean, they just put her at the beginning. Video games, they don't fucking care about fidelity to the source material.
That's true. He also in this section he keeps on kind of referencing, like it seems like he's feeling guilty about the stuff with Crane. Like he feels guilty that he's gonna have to like take all of his money and then turn him in, and because every time that he like uses the rap, he's like, oh, it's Crane's and I really owe him.
Yeah.
But I am gonna fuck his life up completely.
There's a
and
few
he
times.
Does.
Yeah.
Like when he gets caught by the chems, he's just like, oh yeah, it's this guy Crane. And they already know about him.
And then in the next chapter, he starts doing the guilt thing about Mucor. Where he's like, oh man, I fucking failed her. Like as soon as he exercises her, he goes into a spiral of doubt about how like he promised he would talk to Blood about her, and he did have an opportunity and he didn't fucking do it. And like he's probably being way too harsh on Mucor. She probably has no idea like how any of what she's doing is coming off. Silk can't like not blame himself in his interactions with weirdos.
And then he gets an interaction with a new weirdo.
Man, the soldiers are so cool.
Yeah, Wolfe loves his soldier characters, and he portrays them as like so like just like level-headed and like
they're
in their element,
they're
and just like judicious
and reliable. I feel like the soldier archetype for him is defined by a person who like doesn't question, but it's like seeks to achieve like their goals in the most practical, quick, competent way, and then move on to the next thing.
Well, they had that whole conversation about speaking, how they speak differently, and like how Silk speaks differently from even the people that he serves, you know, in his capacities as a clergyman, and then he's kind of like, oh yeah, like I don't know. It just seems like the soldiers' direct manner of speaking is kind of sent up as this like just better. It's just better. But when you're kind of higher up on the ladder, you're just like you have to talk in a way that people are gonna mistake all the time.
Yeah, it's not. he says like they're very specific, like it's better when you're in the shit. It's better when like what you're doing matters for life and death in that moment. And when life and death isn't going to be decided in your activity, there's this other way of speaking that sometimes, that has its good points. But Wolfe is clearly partial to like, I feel like what's happening,
despite the fact that his very writing is
yeah,
susceptible to misinterpretation, like constantly.
yeah. And I took from the Hammerstone part in chapter 9 is that like it's Wolfe's like gentle entreaty to people that think the army is just total bullshit and should be like, and has like nothing to offer humanity. I feel like he's like trying with Hammerstone to be like, no, there's a thing here that this does that we could all learn from, and that like they're like you can't just throw out hierarchy and discipline with the bathwater. Like here are like let's identify these things that like a soldier and the soldier archetype does really well and is helpful to us.
I agree that Wolfe thinks that and portrays his character that way. I don't get a sense that he's responding to anything, but it makes sense that he would.
Yeah,
I just don't see that in the text.
I kind of assume, like, I guess I'm like imagining this guy who's got a foot in the world of like process engineering coming out of the military and then moving into this world of science fiction. And
I
mean,
well, especially like in the late 80s, early 90s, I feel like a lot of media and still does, but like in particular during that time, like portrayed military sort of similar to like corporations, and like people in general were like very cynical towards these institutions. And so like military automatically meant villain.
Yeah. Unless you're reading like Pornell and Niven and like the super hard sci-fi guys that are like not even necessarily like the military's good. They're just like, this is the way it's fucking is and the way it's gonna fucking be. You're gonna have to accept it. You're gonna have to get real close to it and know it intimately because it's coming.
Right. Attitude that's lampooned in Starship Troopers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who is the author of the actual
Heinlein attitude?
Yeah, Heinlein. It's like that dude in the movie.
Heinlein sucks.
It's like Verhoeven poking at the author of his source material.
Yeah.
Which is cool.
Oh, I didn't realize. I've never read Heinlein and never read Starship Troopers. I didn't realize that it was not satire.
Nope.
The book.
No, yeah, the movie is making fun of the book, which obviously
cool.
It has that opinion.
That's
why it's so crazy to me that the hippies were all into Stranger in a Strange Land and grokking and all that stuff when like Heinlein was a fucking military dude.
Well, the hippies only went so far with their lines of logic.
Yeah, exactly. The hippies were bullshit. I'm just saying that underlines it.
Yeah.
And the hippies were about hedonism.
The hippies were what?
They were about hedonism. Yeah. Hippies were.
I don't think that was the problem.
No, I mean, but that was like the core of that crew was like the other stuff.
I think it should have been the core of the crew a little bit more.
I think all you have to know is that hippies are boomers. And boomers are self-interested by nature. That's like their whole thing. Like, boomers only give a fuck about themselves, individual people.
Yeah, not systems of people.
That's like their calling card, as far as I'm concerned.
And because it was easier for them to succeed than the people who came before them or after them. And so they have that like narrative built into their own identity that my success says something about me. And if other people can't find the success that I have, it's clearly something about them. I got an awesome.
I always think of it as like after the World Wars, United States went into like this enormous period of prosperity, and I feel like the existential questions that American men asked of themselves and asked of their country after this period of war was, how can we provide as much to every family as possible. And so then you start to see like the mechanization of like food processes, and you start to see like the installation of uh, roads, and the the proliferation of homes, on lots of land outside of cities. The question was like, how do we make every household a little kingdom, with as much power as possible? And I feel like they felt probably pretty justified in that pursuit, like that was like kind of a utopia that you could create out of the United States, and there was land, in fact, to do so. But they didn't ask themselves more significant questions like how do all these systems work together, and how sustainable is this project?
Yeah, that
Which
was
which are now questions that we're forced into considering now, if we are to continue as a society, I would say.
Right.
Well, I think
and
Ryan
that
also had a
concept-
good point.
That concept of abundance or whatever was really only ever meant for like a very small segment of the population.
Well, yeah,
Well.
for nuclear families.
Well, I also think that
White
Ryan.
nuclear families.
Right.
I also think that Ryan had a point in that, like, the people coming off of World War II and out of the Depression saying, "I will make sure that my children don't have to suffer through that," created a generation of children who just had things handed to them, which created the selfishness that I think allowed the boomers to fail.
yeah.
Yeah,
They
I
can't
think
see,
that's pretty well recognized.
Yeah.
and they can't see sustainability as like a virtue because their sense of self-worth is tied into growth. It's like inseparable from growth. All value comes from more than before. And so I feel like sustainability is just like, it's not a real concept to them because it goes against what makes them feel good about their own self and their own accomplishments.
Well,
I mean-
yeah, it was literally just like something that just never occurred in any of the planning processes. Like no one ever asked, "Hey, does it make sense for every American to have, one or two automobiles? Is this like a good way of figuring this out? Like, does it make sense to, create infrastructure for sprawling suburban communities?" Like that question never occurred. Like,
Well, because
Is this
it has
gonna work?
nothing to do with that. It has entirely to do with capital and profit. It has there was never an idea of like what's best for anyone, corporations. Otherwise, they wouldn't have ripped out all the fucking trolley lines and paved over them.
yeah,
I mean, it's
Well,
not.
I don't think there was a
all has to do.
I mean, there's a
What?
lot of dupes. There was like people who were out mercenary for ripping out trolley lines, and then I think there were a lot of people who were dupes who believed and thought they were striving for like an idyllic kind of like abundance, but it's because they were encouraged to think that by the profiteers.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's basically like what I think, Ryan. Yeah, is that like like these were like civil servants and public city planners who actively, ripped out trolley lines and stopped running trolley lines, but they were like, cars are so much better. Like this is the wave of the future.
No, GM did that. GM bought all the trolley lines and ripped them out.
Yeah, but they had to work in
Like
tandem with the city.
planners.
Yeah, Roger Rabbit is real.
Roger Rabbit is real.
Yeah, Roger
Yeah.
Rabbit is exactly what happened.
Yeah.
Like not even an exaggeration.
Yeah, totally. Roger Rabbit is to public transit what Chinatown is to, water.
The water.
Or what the Garbage Pail Kids movie is to underground art.
I haven't seen that.
It's better than people say. It's way better than people say. But it's all because
No, I always hear that it's good.
it's about like the copycat, basically. It's about like the floristry in Wham City and stuff.
Lost times.
Yeah, I was just thinking, now that I have to move, I was thinking like, it's like, has the sun set on places that aren't houses? Like,
Wait, say that again?
like right now I'm having to move again at like unexpectedly, and to and so I was, I'm trying to like figure out where to go, and I realized
Did they
like
sell your house, Ryan?
the dude's gone. He's trying to.
Okay.
So yeah, so I was like, what are my options? And and I've been thinking about how different the situation is now than like it has been for me since I've been 20 and like looking for places, uh, and that this is like the first time where there's not like a whole bunch of options that have nothing to do with houses.
Yeah.
Mm.
Like,
Well,
you,
I mean,
You could still live in
yeah,
the copycat if you wanted to.
yeah, but
there
I'm
are
40.
still those things are still there.
Well, the copycat is, and I guess maybe is H&H still.
Yeah.
Everybody's kind of
Yeah,
like,
I mean, there is also like the kind of apartment that Anne just moved out of that's having a stainless steel gym built on top of it and being rented
There's
out
the
for a
kind that
lot
I live
more.
in. The kind of apartment I live in, which is normal.
right. I'm talking.
Yeah, but your apartment's going to be bought soon.
The thing that I'm
Totally.
talking about is that like it used to be a lot easier to find places to live that had nothing to do with houses or apartments. Like
Right.
places
Yeah.
that were like non-residential, and people
Oh,
there would be new ones. There
Oh
was
yeah,
like
that
always
that ended with the ghost ship fire, dude.
Yeah, it's really the ghost ship thing.
yeah, okay, but
I feel like that year is when all of those situations seem to disappear.
I feel like it was set up a little bit like the ghost ship was like the straw. It was already
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Totally. They
Yeah.
wanted them gone, and then that happened, and then they were like, here's how we get them gone.
But also people weren't like there wasn't like younger people making new spaces, and part of that here was because there were so many already being run by older people and all those older people had started those spaces because there wasn't one, and like like you need like soft house has to happen because there's not a place that just does soft music, or like this this building over here has to happen because there's other building is full up. And then I feel like it was like really visible on Elfwire. I feel like this passing of when there was suddenly like it didn't cross people's minds to start a new place because there were places that existed.
Maybe I'm wrong here, but I feel like people were trying to start new ones, and they were just immediately getting shut down, like Broom Factory.
the Bell Foundry.
Now you have specifically now, what makes now different from the ghost ship year or other times in recent history is that now it's impossible to do it because the real estate market is so fucked that you
Right.
can't. There's no way that like artist people could rent any kind of building like that. It's just like not possible anymore.
It gets bought
Because
and
it's just not, like,
renovated.
because the investor class has decided that that's the only thing they can do with their money besides cryptocurrency or whatever. So like
I'm not sure.
NFTs.
I'm not sure if I agree with that. Like, I think Baltimore still has areas where, if you want to be a pioneer, you could still do innovative stuff. I think there's a lot of opportunities in this city, in my just general opinion. Like if
The
you
bank
have
in
the
America
inclination,
style.
Ryan. Sorry.
Like the bank or America, you just go out like outside of the
Right.
The butterfly. No, the L. It's the
Yeah,
L.
I mean,
You go
I live
into the butterfly.
I live in quote unquote East Baltimore, like, which is just like whatever the fuck is east of
Charles.
83.
Greenmount,
But
yeah.
there's a lot around here. Honestly, like, if you have a mind for it, a little bit of gumption and a little bit of money, not even that much money. I mean, you could do a lot of the places around here.
But there's a lid on how much you can do.
Well,
If you do too much, the cops are going to come.
Well, but that's the thing is that you
Sure.
have to recognize at all times that you're a criminal. Like,
Right, yeah.
there's a mindset to running a place that existed where it was understood that it was a criminal act that you were doing, and you would treat it like a crime, and try not to get caught and do things so you wouldn't get caught. And then the thing about Broom Factory and Bell Foundry was that mindset didn't exist at all. There was like, why are you treating me like a criminal? Why are you calling me a criminal? This is fucked up that people think I'm a criminal.
Well, it was also a different.
At the bank, we had a hard rule that you couldn't put the address on a flyer. You couldn't post about it on the internet. You could but it's also a different time now because everything the fuck is on Instagram. Like you can't do it like you used to do it.
The cops also. I mean, the cops. When the cops showed up to our shows, they would just tell them to end. When the cops showed up to the Broom Factory, they kicked everyone out. I do think that they're cracking down on that kind of thing.
Got more hostile. And there was that whole like Proud Boy bullshit going on for a little bit there.
Yeah, that's all
attached to the ghost ship fire.
Ghost ship thing.
Oh, they were ratting on people online. They were like just finding flyers and then telling like people that didn't even live in the city.
4chan people were like,
I remember that now. I thought you were saying that Proud Boys physically started the fire is what I thought was.
Oh no, sorry.
And that's why I was like, what the fuck?
They didn't start the fire.
I remember the reporting and stuff. Now that you mention it.
But I mean, it is like the whole world is much tighter.
Yeah.
I guess
the confluence of.
The only point I was trying to make though, Ryan, is that in my opinion, like if you're looking for a living situation that's different than just renting an apartment, you know, I still think that is a possibility. I'm just saying, it just takes a little bit more elbow grease and imagination.
Just need a car to get.
I just wonder though too, because like even in neighborhoods that aren't like I just envision like the internet has changed things in such a way. Like I feel like if you were an artist person or whatever who like moved into some warehouse where you're not supposed to be living and you like that shit would be on next door, like people would be complaining about it in like 1 second and then the cops would be there and then you'd get kicked out. Like,
the Bell Foundry wasn't shut down for shows. The Bell Foundry was shut down for code violations.
No. I don't even mean for shows. I mean like every reality is so snitchy now.
Yeah, I'm agreeing with you.
Yeah. That like you don't even have to have a show. Like if you were like if they see you like in there doing work on a building that maybe you're not supposed to be living in, and they're gonna be posting online about it, and then everyone's gonna be like, "What? You gotta call the cops on these guys." Yeah, they'll come in and give you.
They'll kick you out of there because your room doesn't have enough windows in it, or this stairway doesn't lead to any place.
Is my internet done?
We can hear you, Tim, but your picture's frozen. Oh, now your eyes are moving again.
Am I back?
You're back.
Yeah, back.
You're actually never really gone.
That was scary.
Remember when Connor froze that one time we were talking? Connor doesn't even know it. One time, I feel like after this, a couple of us were still around after we turned off the internet, and you froze in a hilarious face. And we just like
remember that.
Jordan and Tim and I just laughed at it for a while. It was like,
wait, when did we turn off the internet?
Like at a different book club, at another day.
I think it was the last one.
Yeah, and I screenshotted it, and it sat on my desktop for a long time. And then I was like, this is not particularly flattering. I'll just throw it away. I don't even know where I'm gonna put it.
I really hope that I was trolling you and I didn't freeze and I was just there.
Like.
Yeah, that sounds like something I might do.
There was the time Jordan said something like, "The dogs are fighting," and then her connection cut off completely.
That was very exciting. Because he doesn't even own any dogs.
There were dogs outside fighting.
It was very confusing.
It was like a microfiction that had been filmed.
I really like to think, though, that it was like an action movie. The two anthropomorphic dogs like threw each other through the wall of your apartment and were tousling in on the floor. Like, the dogs are fighting. And they ripped the connection out of the wall.
But also, you used to be able to like rent a house really cheap, like a whole house.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Mhm.
I think the cost of even just like the cost of the copycat like 8 years ago was kind of more than it would cost to just get a regular apartment.
In 2011, a room that I built in the copycat, by which I mean I tore the front of another room off of it and just leaned it up against the end of a hallway. They were going to charge me $600 to rent that room. I was like, no, I pay
Yeah.
$120 for this room. I made this room.
Yeah. I
And that
mean,
was back in 2011.
Right, $600 in 2011 is like $1,400 today.
Yeah.
I'm curious, how much do you think it costs to live there now?
I don't think about it because it's going to be insane.
I remember it was
I'm
maybe
scared.
in like 2011 or 2000. Yeah, probably 2011. Madison and I were looking for apartments, like our first apartment, and we were looking at copycat places, and it was like going to be $900 to
For one of those like single units?
or to have like like have a small space.
Yeah.
Like the only way that any of those living situations are tenable is to live with a bunch of people, and then that just drastically increases the chances of it being a problem. Or people being a problem, which happened plenty also. So yeah, I don't know. It would be cool if the warehouse stuff was still happening, but it seems like it's not super. Like Copycat kind of went legit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I don't know what the annex is like.
What is the H&H like now?
The H&H is trying to go legit.
I mean, they have been. I
Yeah.
don't know if they had that big stairwell project. I haven't really heard anything about
Yeah.
that.
Is everyone who's
But-
living there basically everyone who's been living there for like 10 years?
I believe so.
Largely,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Give or
think.
take a
But,
I
flip.
mean, that dude wants to play ball to have things continue. They're also allegedly building a real performance space where the H&H used to be
Oh.
because he wants there to still be shows. And he's like, well, if we got to do it legit, then I guess we'll figure out how to do it legit then because I want y'all to do your thing. But that's also been going on for a very long time and
Right.
has
Yeah.
hit the snag of this Armageddon.
Right.
But that's
That-
over now.
The old H&H.
Yeah, we'll see about that, buddy.
We're never going to think about COVID ever
Yeah,
again.
COVID's canceled.
It's done.
Yeah, because we have a new thing that we've been making. It just melts your face off.
What is that?
I mean,
Wolfe.
we're
The
still
America
the
variant.
Wuhan factory of death machine
The
viruses
USA
is still
variant.
operating and whatnot. Like we're just making the next virus.
You know, it doesn't even. The thing about it is, it doesn't even like matter what the virus is, because like the whole reason that the virus spread it was able to spread so much is because of like sheer pollution. Like our environment is toxic. It doesn't. We're gonna fucking extinct ourselves. It doesn't matter like if there's a virus.
Not
or
if we leave the
We're
planet.
killing ourselves.
And,
Like,
and
we're
bring all the
killing
pollution and the virus with us.
Some people
We
will
sh-
live. Very few,
We should
but
run
some.
away. We should let Elon Musk make his starship, and then we should steal it from him.
Yo, I
I'm
don't
just saying.
No,
COVID
because
is-
it'll explode.
COVID is a symptom of a sick environment.
Oh yeah, and but it's been treated like a weird mistake distraction that took us off track.
It's exactly the same as Trump.
Mm,
It's like
it is.
this is something
Totally.
that came out of nowhere, and it has
Yeah.
nothing to do with what we've been doing for the last 60, 70,
Right.
100 years.
Concept
Definitely
what?
It's definitely not related to all the shit we've been doing. It's like this new thing, and we just need to make a vaccine and then like be prepared for a pandemic in the future. But it's like, okay, well, all right, well, we're all dying, and
It's
Round
it's
up.
like it's like when Hunter S. Thompson's lawyer is in the convertible and he tries to put the cocaine on the briefcase to snort it, and the wind blows it all away, and he screams, "You see what God just did to us." That's exactly what this is like.
I saw a thing, and I don't want to I guess this goes back to Connor saying is like You don't have to be offended. But today, maybe this is the opposite of being offended. I saw a news story, and I could not, for the life of me, figure out if it was real or not. And I kind of felt a little giddy. Like, I kind of felt like this is where I like this feeling, and I want more of this. And I feel like things are going my way in this direction. But the news story was about how Elon Musk tweeted some obscene emojis, and it caused a new type of Bitcoin to skyrocket in price. And the new type of Bitcoin is named Cumrocket, and it is the leading adults-only NFT platform for makers of, I don't know, obscene material or something. Cumrocket. Yeah, and this was like everything about this news article played it straight. Like, there was no point where it was not like exactly on the line between could be real, could be satire. It had no tell in either direction. Like, there was nothing serious enough about it to make me think, oh, this is definitely serious. But there was no clear jokes either. And I had this like wonderful euphoric feeling of like, oh, this is going to happen even more, because I'm getting less and less interested in the news, and the things that are happening I feel like are getting more and more like Elon Musk tweets about Cumrocket, and really it's just going to be like entertainment, like pure
conversations about Bitcoin and EFT and NFTs like make me more nervous than conversations about pandemics. Like, seriously, like that, it fills me with dread. Yeah. Because I feel like it's like this indicator of like where the world is going, and it's a place that I don't understand and I have no place in. Like, I don't know.
Well,
I feel like
that's true regardless of how you feel about it.
Yeah, well, it's true.
I feel like the optimistic viewpoint of all of this is we got to fall back into the oddball medievalists who are arguing that like the only reason we think that the serfs had it bad is because they didn't write shit down, but secretly they were having a constant awesome party and their lives were better than ours. So when the upper class goes off into their fucking sky colonies and we're going to be living in their garbage pile, we're going to have an awesome, great party time in that garbage pile.
Hopefully.
And we just won't tell anybody, and it's going to be great. So
I mean,
let's get rid of that upper class so that we can just start living a beautiful life.
Yeah, it just depends on how polluted the garbage pile is by the time that point comes.
No, I mean, we're going to have 3 eyes and 6 arms,
yeah.
But that's just going to make the party weirder.
It'll be like Total Recall with the 3 boobs.
Yeah, 3 boobs. I mean, 3 boobs are better than 2.
As long as we don't vaccinate ourselves out of like being able to get genetic updates from viruses, like we're
whatever, man. Vaccines just cause autism, and autistics are X-Men, and that's what we're just going to have to deal with.
I'm saying viruses have a place in our genetic lineage.
True, they also make X-Men.
And if we obliterate them, we're just going to die because we won't be able to adapt to our surroundings.
Isn't there a virus?
I don't think that we will obliterate them.
In DNA, what's the virus? The thing that's like in
RNA.
There's another thing, mitochondria.
Sure.
That's like a virus, and it maybe like is the actual pilot of the body. You guys know about this theory?
I mean, we have fungus in our brains. Like our bodies are more than 50% not human.
And our beings are more than 50% not material.
Word.
Yes. But I remember when Ronsky first told me about the possibility that your genitals are your true face and that your head is just this antenna that's extending up in order to attract mates. And then it's learned all these tricks to attract mates. And like that.
That is the most ridiculous metaphor I've heard. that really we're just a cock and the rest of the body grew out of the cock.
Yeah, it's
so
just
that the
like,
cock could interact with the world better.
yeah, I feel like it's
Oh
good.
my God, Aaron, that's amazing. I hope that Aaron came up with that himself.
That's the most Aaron thing I've ever heard. I feel like.
That is amazing.
I mean, also vaginas, you know.
I'm sorry?
I mean, you said cock, but equally as
Yeah, I
with
feel like that's a
vaginas.
very masculine sounding theory. Right, okay.
I think, well, okay, to spin off on your idea about we live in the trash pile when the people go on the spaceship, my hopeful scenario is like a, you know how old folks homes are like, you know, if you're not in one of the ones where you're getting punched, like they're pretty awesome places, people really like
Yeah,
being there.
exactly.
I feel like that's going to happen culturally, where like all of mainstream culture, like anything that is advertised, is going to be involving like 10 and 11-year-old TikTok stars who are like talking about trends and hashtags and stuff that have happened in the last 48 hours, and that anyone over like 20 is going to be unable to keep up with it and also unable to succeed in that industry because they're too old, they're like aged out. And so then like all of culture will be a giant nursing home of people that are like, well, I guess I just hang out with people till I die, and well, I guess we're gonna play games and not
But
work.
that nursing
That's what
home's
I do
going to
now.
include all the young people who are dorks too. Like, it's not that all young people are going to be in the hashtag trending crowd. That it's only the ones who are hashtag trending. The most of them are dorks, and they'll be in the real world with everybody else.
Yeah, most people like live in the Midwest, right? And like even with the internet, they aren't cooler than
Most people
Well,
live in
you
China.
guys haven't watched enough TikTok, because all you need to do if you're a dork is put on the right song and then do this. And then when you pull away, you're like beautiful and you got like different makeup on and really good clothes. You should watch. They can do this. Like teen
Yeah,
tweens
but
can do this.
they don't
But they're the
all
ones who
get.
are online.
They don't all go viral. Most of them are just someone that nobody's going to watch.
A
No,
lot
but
of
Most of them are in the movie Eighth Grade.
they have the power to undorkify just by doing this with the right soundtrack. You got to have the song too.
Ryan's a TikTok mark.
I do still want to
mean-
make that one about the bad boys. I'm gonna do it.
Not real.
Yeah.
I have
we
two
need it.
separate ideas. One is I gotta set up a bunch of shit, but I also have a very easy one that I'll do that one first.
It's gonna be really good.
Good to do easy things first.
Yeah.
I think take as much time as you need because it
No, do it as
Right.
fast as possible.
I want to do both. I want to do the fast one that's like so cheap and such a cheap joke, but is like, all right, yeah, okay, that's a joke. And then do the one where I wear the costumes
Okay.
and look really like really fierce.
yeah, we do need both. You're right. You guys are right. We need both.
So Ryan, remember a couple minutes ago you talked about like that news story with the Elon Musk emojis, and you weren't sure if it was real or not, like it was right on the cusp.
Real.
Like that, well, but I think you're experiencing a feeling that I'm not sure there's a word for yet, but maybe there ought to be, of that like unreality. And
Yeah.
like I wouldn't even like, at first I was thinking of it like information is becoming more porous, but I'm not even that sure that's the right word. Like information is becoming more shifting, and not shifting, maybe like flipping, or like has multiple possibilities to it, if that makes sense. And this is something you see, I guess, like if you watch like maybe like a TikTok video or something where someone is able to like manipulate their face, or something, like using technology. Like what scares me right now about the future, it gives me this like unknown sense of dread, is that like I feel like information is change. It like there's some new epoch happening right now where
Well, there's definitely like the accelerated news cycle makes the integrity of information
Yeah.
unimportant, because like I mean, like we can look
Right.
I mean, Jen uncorked the genie bottle to talk about Trump. I feel like, but like you can look at just like all of this kind of Russia stuff, all this like indictments are coming, all this shit, and it's like it didn't have anything to stand on, and that doesn't fucking matter because that was weeks ago, and there's never going to be a follow-up about anything that happened weeks ago. There's never going to be a like, wait a second, we had this whole idea and like, holy shit, like here's new information. Like basically the thing that we like about books and where they take information and show us how we had been, you know, in Wolfe's big trick, like you had assumed some things and it made sense for you to assume them, but look, it's totally, there's actually a whole other way to see this, and it's pretty, you know, like that's other people's real way. Like that can't, the news is like the anti-Wolf. It's like,
I do think that there is some actual news happening on Substack.
That's what I like to read.
I'm wondering if okay, so like I agree with the shift that you're seeing, and I've been thinking about it lately, and I'm not sure what it is. So like, I'm wondering, are we getting closer to what like reality and truth really is, or are we getting further away from it?
Right.
Because if you think about it, there's like 6 billion different versions of the world that are being lived in simultaneously, and all of them are real, and all of them, you know, like, so what is...
I think it's both at the same time. I think it depends on like,
what do you mean by reality?
How you orient.
Yeah.
And
like where is reality being oriented now? Because before it was like, being oriented
I feel
by...
like some of us are getting, I feel like it's all whether you are like getting information, like if you're receiving and processing information, or whether you're like outsourcing all of your thinking to someone else. That's like whether or not you're getting further or closer. It depends on which one of those two things you're doing.
Maybe because...
Yeah, I think you're right. I think that's what I was thinking.
Maybe because it's more like the truth, that makes it more like a devastating thing to use, like, you know, like opportunistically. Like it can push people so far from reality because it's actually so close to reality that when someone comes along and is like, I'm going to treat this like a tool to smash people with and get stuff.
I want to circle back to what Jen was saying for a second. I don't think that it's that some people are getting closer and some people are getting further away. I think it's people are choosing which version of truth, which of the truths they're going to get closer to.
Yeah.
The people who are not living in a more multiversal existence are just choosing to not live in a multiversal existence, and that is true.
Yeah.
And their reality will react accordingly, I think.
I just feel bad for them. I feel bad for people who are like using, who choose to go towards a truth that negates their own experience.
But the thing is,
that's happening a lot, and I feel like that's sad.
But the thing is, people who don't do that wouldn't exist if there weren't people who were doing it. Like they have.
That doesn't mean it's not sad.
Okay. But they do have a place in reality.
The only thing that's...
Well, yeah, no, I don't think anyone would argue that they don't have...
And there's a lot of them for whom the thing that is sad about it is a ladder that takes them out of that thing that is sad and into a better place. I think, too. Like, they are going through a process. Some of them won't make it out of that process, but they are still going through a process.
There's that quote that used to, like, for years drove me nuts until I figured out how to crack it. But that quote, and I brought this up probably not that long ago. The only thing like grosser than the will to dominate is the will to obey. I'm butchering. There's a better way to say it, but like, there's that thing of like people choosing to believe and get closer to the thing that negates their own existence is like what has supported ruling classes all along.
Yeah, I mean that is 100% true. It's like if I'm talking about, if I'm talking to my family about like Palestinians homes being bulldozed or something, and literally the thing that's being given to me as the counter argument is like a tweet from the official IDF Twitter, and it's like, you're quoting the IDF Twitter? Like, what is this? Like, do you really think that like an official military Twitter account is like where you get information from? Like, what is going on?
Yeah, because if you don't,
Like,
it's
I'm
fake
just saying, like,
news.
here
It's
are some
fake
things to
news.
think about, like, consider these facts, and it's like, or like consider like the shape of this reality, and it's like, no, I choose not to consider the shape of that reality. I choose to not consider it. I
Well,
choose not to consider
You
it.
have a responsibility now not to consider it, because if you do two sides, both sidesism, or you're a centrist, or like you allow any sort of information that's contrary to what you know is right and like necessary for the the liberation of all peoples, then you're as bad as the people that truly believe the shitty thing. Like it's like you don't, people choose, and they're being actively coerced into making that choice with like a weird fear of the there's like very strong insinuations that if you take your news from multiple places, that you're basically like whatever the worst one of them is, you're that the ally of those people. Like, I don't know, there's a lot of topics, like you can, people can't, you just like can't even have a theoretical discussion about certain things, because the moment you open up thought beyond a dogmatic party line, like you're you're as bad as people can get. You're a German soldier from the 40s.
I mean, that's basically the vibe. But in my family, it's like, it's not exactly that. It's like, it doesn't go in that direction. It goes in the direction of like, well, it's complicated. That's the shutdown you get in my family. Is like, it's complicated, and I'm like, well, it's not that complicated.
Yeah, not if you've actually learned.
Well, also, I'm not
history.
daunted by complicated things.
Right.
I don't care that
And
it's
it's also
complicated.
like-
I'm going to
and
tell
it's
you
also
what I've
like-
puzzled out of it.
It's also like, you're allowed to say it's complicated if you're then providing like a nuanced view of it
Right.
in support of your statement that it's complicated. But your statement that it's complicated is intended to just shut the whole thing down, because
Right.
it's not saying like, well, it's not saying like, you don't have a point, you're absolutely wrong, like the things you're saying are, it's like conceding without conceding. It's like this weird equivocation thing
Yeah.
people have to do,
Totally.
where they feel
it's-
like then they're not being like, they're still being open-minded because they're saying there's more than one viewpoint or whatever.
It's condescending.
Yeah.
Well,
It's
it's saying
fucked up. It's really
we've reached
fucked up.
we've reached the limit of what I will think about.
That's
Like,
exactly
it's complicated. It's beyond what I'm going to
Yeah.
even
That's
consider.
exactly it, which I find really frustrating.
And it's
because
presented
like,
in the
okay,
way.
well that's fine. Okay, well that's fine. But then at some point, like, if I'm ready to go down the rabbit hole of this and you're not, then like, why do I have to respect your opinion about it?
Right. Yeah.
Like, because it's also this thing where it's like, well, it's like this thing about you're like, it's like, you have to think about the perspective outside of your perspective or whatever. You have to understand the counter argument to your argument, and like, maybe you need to like read things that aren't from your point of view or whatever, which like is true, except like, I inherently understand the point of view that's against my point of view, aka Zionism, because I was raised inside Zionism. Like, I know it intimately because it's like what you're taught since like the day you're born as a
Yeah,
Jew. And
wouldn't
so
the
like,
viewpoint
I understand what your argument is. You refuse to like understand to like pay any attention to my argument. Like, I know what your side of the argument is. I fucking know that well, you know?
wouldn't the viewpoint that's outside of your viewpoint as a Jew be the Palestinian viewpoint?
You'd think.
Right? To turn their argument on their head, on its
Well,
head.
that's exactly what I'm saying. And they're
Yeah.
basically saying, like, I don't know. I don't even know what they're saying. They're
I
saying,
think they're
like,
saying like I feel that I am right, and at some point in the future I may have a better like way of making you agree with me, but for now I don't. Like, stay tuned.
my one cousin I was arguing with, it got boiled down for her to, like, well, when we were talking about like values and like conflicting values, and then I was talking about how dignity and like human dignity and like respect for human life are the highest values, and if you like everything else is subordinate to that. And it was basically like, well, I think the existence of a Jewish state is a higher value.
Right.
Like, and
At
that's
least
and it's like,
they
okay,
could
well,
articulate that.
what else can you say? Like, if that's your point of view, like, what else can you say? Like, you're literally saying like this is okay because the existence of the Jewish state is all that matters.
So, like, pro-Israel takes are like peak liberalism because they boil down to that, but they'll like barely ever admit that. Like, at least your cousin like said that,
Well,
but it's like
after I drilled down for a long
it's
time,
always just
but it's
like
like
this.
you have to look at that. Like, you have to look at that when you're saying that.
Yeah,
And she's
yeah,
pretty like, she's kind of like a libertarianish like leaning person. And the rest, she married my cousin. Like, she's not like, she married in. So the rest of my family is a little bit more like shitty lib, and
right.
she's like a little more right wing. You know, she was trying to like, also she was trying to use articles by Bari Weiss as like arguments, which is, I think, like the absolute worst possible, like least intellectually respectable person on earth almost. But it's like
Anti-Semite.
it's like, yeah, right.
I don't know why else you would say
You know
that.
what? I'm sorry. That woman is a dumbass. Like, one of the dumbest people. And also just bad. But anyway, whatever. It doesn't matter. It got drilled down to that, though. It was like, well, we have to have... She said, like, if Israel ceases to exist, then Jews will cease to exist, which I think is insane. And then she said something like,
It's
I
demonstrably
think
false.
history would back me up on this. And I'm like, no, history would back me up because the Jews are still around after thousands of years of like never having a state.
Yeah.
The Jews predated Israel. The Jews were around first.
Like, we survived the Holocaust. Like, what?
Yeah, also eliminating
right
Israel
now?
isn't on the table right now as an option.
What is it?
Like eliminating Israel.
No, but I was arguing that there's no that the one state solution is the only actual tenable solution, wherein you give Palestinians legal rights.
Uh-huh.
But that is dissolving Israel in the sense that demographically it would not be a majority Jewish state anymore.
Oh, gotcha.
And I mean,
And to her, that's unacceptable.
Yeah, this is where that's the limit for her. Like,
yeah,
she
that's
can't.
It. It's unacceptable.
Yeah.
Fascinating. Oh my god.
Where do you go
sucks.
from there? There's nowhere to go from there. If
that
you're
whole
saying,
discourse
like,
sucks.
If you're saying like you can't have, like, I'm saying the two-state solution has been dead for a long time because there's no way they're ever going to give the Palestinians a state, like with autonomy. Like, they're never going to give them autonomy. So the only other thing is a one-state solution where you give them citizenship and actual human rights, and or you continue the apartheid state. Like, those are your two choices. Anyway, I'm in there. I'm fighting them.
I respect that you have those conversations with your family, Jen. I don't know that I can have those conversations.
They hate it so much.
Yeah. A lot of times when I engage with people like that, family members or whatever, I just kind of adopt this attitude of like, whatever. You don't.
Like, depends on if you're used to talking to your family or not.
Dumbass.
Because like my entire family is like conservative, and we're not personally offended by each other, and we like have legitimate conversation. I mean, their opinions are stupid and they're idiots, but like I can still have a conversation with them. You know what like?
I mean, I just feel like it is the responsibility of the American Jew to have a reasonable viewpoint on this, because this shit is being done in our names, like in the most literal sense, not just in the sense that like whatever the American military does is in the name of the Americans, but like.
And with our money.
It's like you have to look at if you're supporting Zionism or not supporting Zionism. You really have to look at why you're doing that. Otherwise, it's a little weird. You can't just like be a Zionist and not have a good reason why. But you can, because it's the Holocaust.
It seems like they probably all do.
Yeah, I mean.
Right? It's like pure brainwashing.
It's like, or what I'm saying is like, you have to be realistic about it. If you can't get down to the point where that one cousin got to, where it's like, well, the existence of a Jewish state is actually more important to me than human rights.
Yeah.
If you can say that out loud to yourself, then like, fine, that's your opinion. But if you can't be this like, you can't pretend to be like a civil rights loving liberal and be a Zionist at the same time. Like the dissonance is too great. Like this is my point in arguing with my family, is I don't want them to feel like they're allowed to feel that way. I think that you should be forced to look at what you're supporting if you're supporting something like that.
Yeah, and that's like liberalism tries to segment humanity instead of having a coherent lens to which view human rights. Yeah. And like our contemporary neoliberal ideas are like how to focus on who and when human rights apply selectively, and that's in fact something not just neoliberalism, but just I think distinctly just of our time that we all
Which
kind
is
of contend with.
It's inherently never that it matters unless you're trying to weaponize that against someone you don't like.
Mm-hmm.
Like, human rights only matter in countries we don't like.
Yes.
So that we can use that against them rhetorically. But like it matters to the Uyghurs in China, and it matters to like ethnic minorities in Syria or whatever, but it like doesn't matter here. Certainly it doesn't matter in Israel, doesn't matter in fucking Saudi Arabia, really. It doesn't matter,
Absolutely.
So but I'm just trying to make people accountable to their viewpoints, is basically, because I know I'm not going to change their minds about it, because they're so indoctrinated that it's another Iron Dome. It's the propaganda like Iron Dome, the conceptual Iron Dome of Zionism. But it's like, okay, well, if you're sticking to your guns on this, you need to know what the guns are that you're sticking to. Like, we're not gonna like mince words about this. Like, we're gonna say out loud the things that you're supporting.
And I think that's how you change people's minds. I don't think you change people's minds by presenting an argument that a viewpoint is better than any. You don't recruit people to a viewpoint. You can only make them feel the full accountability of what their viewpoint is, and if that makes them uncomfortable enough, they will change to something else, and you can't control what that's going to be.
Yeah, and then the alternative is it doesn't make them that uncomfortable, and they just stick with it, which is
Sure. I mean, but honestly, that's something that needs that's something that needs to be dealt with. You
Yeah.
know, if it doesn't make them uncomfortable, like, that's the real problem.
yeah.
Jokes also. Jokes is another way you can change people's minds.
Only if they already are in a position to change it, though. You can't change somebody's mind if they don't feel the pain of the accountability for what they're. If there's not a reason within somebody's viewpoint to change that viewpoint, even jokes won't change that viewpoint. I think.
Yeah.
Well,
There has to be a crack at some point
yeah, I think
to be
that
widened.
there's like cracks that reason and logic can never get through, and jokes can get through those cracks.
I mean, and tragedy and art in general.
I mean, I think it depends on the situation.
Yeah. I mean, it's not like a joke isn't going to solve every problem, but I think it's an underrated way of changing people's minds. I mean, all ways beyond reason and force are underrated. Like seduction, trickery, jokes, they're all like non-options in our culture, and they're clearly great tools.
I know that I'm the asshole in this episode, but our jokes are overrated in this culture. We don't have actual news. We only have jokes. I think that there's a problem with jokes right now.
I think you're thinking of like Trevor Noah. I knew you were going to
Stewart.
say him. Yeah, I knew you were going to say that. Yeah, I see. I think jokes are way bigger than that. I think one of the cool.
Watch Rachel Maddow, and I don't know. I think that we rely on jokes too much. I think that people who can't make jokes think that they need to make jokes in order to do what they're supposed to do, but they should do what they're supposed to do and not make jokes.
I think, yeah, like when jokes fail, they fail. Like a failure to be funny is a failure. I agree with that.
I mean, I think I didn't really have a horse in this race at the beginning, but the more I'm thinking about it, like as soon as you said Rachel Maddow, I was like, oh fuck. Because like if you guys ever watched Fox News, that's all they do is make jokes. And it's not to say that that's like
bad jokes, very bad jokes.
But maybe not the thing that's needed.
Well, once again, I feel like you're talking about jokes that fail, jokes that are bad.
No, but I think of the people who watch like fucking Tucker Carlson or whatever, or like what's her name? What's that blonde lady on Fox's name?
Nancy Grace.
What's her name?
Greta Van Susteren. Whatever.
Oh, she knew.
Like they're just snarky the whole time and like making like punching at the libs or whatever. And I'm sure that the people who watch that show think that that's funny. And I'm sure that the people who watch Rachel Maddow think that she's like witty and funny.
Okay,
Stu likes her.
Like they're landing to their audience.
Right. I would compare what you guys are talking about to being like Captain Crunch and being like, breakfast isn't going to help anybody. Look at Captain Crunch. You're going to eat Captain Crunch all day? That's not helping anybody. Fuck breakfast. Like jokes is breakfast. Rachel Maddow, that's Captain Crunch.
Right. Well, I think Connor was talking about that we're reaching like a point where that they're like a joke saturation, right? And then the conversation's kind of expanded to say like, well, that's something that we see on like both sides of like the the current discourse, that's all there is, and that it's just becoming this like pointless sort of
joke training.
I was speaking directly to the notion that jokes are underrated. I think the jokes are very highly rated. That's all
Right.
I'm saying.
I mean, I think a lot of people eat Captain Crunch.
Right, because they think that jokes are the way to go, and they
But
can't pull off jokes.
And because
but a lot of jokes
that's
are
what's on
great
the
though.
shelf, and that's what like you get fed as a kid. But that's not
Yeah.
breakfast.
Yeah.
One of the best explanations of humor that I've read recently is that it's the ego losing, or it's the ego getting perspective on itself. That like humor can only happen when like you disengage from the horse you have in the race, and that is a thing that can't really be done with reason.
I mean, yeah, I think the jokes help me understand, like, whatever you want to call it, like right-wing points of view, probably better than anything else. Like when you see jokes kind of like owning libs and SJWs, like you're like, I can see where you're coming from. I can see your brain working in this, and I couldn't beforehand. Like if I see like a meme or something that's like, kind of like from that point of view,
you can see
like I'm not gonna agree necessarily because I'm coming from a different place, but the joke can speak to something. It has a language.
To understand the conservative mind, you just need to accept that the thing that you think is so crazy that no one would ever believe is literally the thing that they believe, and they think it's legitimate. And it's not like, oh, I just don't understand this thing, but they know as much as you do. They just have a completely different approach to it, and they literally just like think it makes sense to be racist or whatever. Like it that is like what is real to them. Like the thing that you would think like they couldn't possibly believe this is literally what they believe. Like that's how you accept the conservative mind is you just accept that it's exactly what it says on the package.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like perspectives are shaped by your immediate realities too.
Mm-hmm.
And like the legacies of perspectives around you and preceding you, from your family or whatever.
I also think the less you feel like or see your actions like when you feel like your actions don't matter, and when you see proof that they don't matter, your beliefs have to get way more like hardened and forceful and like capable of making feelings happen, because otherwise you just don't exist or have any influence over the world at all. Like your beliefs and your opinions and your political stances are sort of like the like the hammer that you have when your hand won't make the nail go in.
I feel like good jokes speak to a sense of validity. Like if you can find a good joke, no matter what its like underlying intent, if it's good, it speaks to you, and it can give you an entryway into like a validity, a truth at the heart of where it's coming from. That non-joke things have a hard time doing. Like,
yeah, I think but like, at the heart, jokes are a friendly, pleasurable way of knocking somebody in the head.
Like, or making a point. I don't know what I'm thinking. I'm too abstract right now.
This is only when jokes are shared. As soon as they're not shared, the friendly knocking someone in the head becomes an asshole move.
Yeah, I would call that like a failed joke. That like if your goal is to make someone feel like shit, then you're not telling a joke.
Or if you accidentally make someone feel like shit. Mm-hmm. You got to take responsibility for that joke. You got to be accountable for your failed joke. You failed.
I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
No, but it's a failure. You got to be sure, because you're making a joke. That's a powerful thing.
Sure.
You have to be accountable for your failed joke, dude.
Yeah, I feel like we're talking about different things. I feel like you've got like a very unsympathetic view of jokes. I mean, that was the thesis you came out from the beginning with. You're very
I-
absolutist at this club lately, Connor.
Yeah, that's fine. Uh, yeah, I mean, I think the jokes are in a dangerous place right now, and I respect ones that work a lot. And I think that it's really a shame that we're putting so much pressure on people to make jokes who can't do it.
It sounded
And
like a
that's
second ago
creating
that
a very dangerous situation.
It sounded a second ago like you insinuated that if a joke hurts anyone's feelings, then like a joke that works is one that hurts no one's feelings. Which I feel like is.
Oh yeah, I
strange.
think that I think that a good joke doesn't hurt anybody's feelings. I think that a good joke uplifts the thing. I mean, having been successfully roasted, jokes that are lampooning me that work are uplifting, and jokes that make me feel like shit are not.
There's an
I don't know.
element
I
of
feel like good satire can be relentless in its ridicule and can be effective,
yeah.
that way.
I don't think that disagrees with what I just said.
Yeah, maybe not, but
I think it sounded to me like what Connor was saying is like you can have ridicule that works in an uplifting way. That's still ridicule.
Jeff Foxworthy is a
Whereas,
successful
like,
comedian,
lightning-
not because I find him
lightning-
funny, but because the people he's making fun of find him funny.
What about Jeff Dunham? Do Jeff Dunham?
I don't know Jeff Dunham.
He's the racist puppets man.
Racist puppet man?
Incredibly
that doesn't
successful.
That doesn't sound like, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know anything about this man.
It's terrible. You're fine.
What about chapter 9?
Well, we were
chapter
talking
9
about
of what?
Talking about the soldiers.
What?
I think we'll probably want to spend a little more time on chapter 9 next time, but
That's
Yeah,
fine.
it's like
That doesn't
noon.
mean that doesn't mean we're not allowed to talk about it now.
Well,
I
it
didn't
is
read
noon.
it.
I'd like to stop talking soon.
Oh, it's noon?
Yeah.
yeah, we haven't even talked about Mamelta yet.
My bad.
Oh.
That's fine.
I do want to. Oh, also, there's the seal, and I want to say this before I forget. I went last night and I typed in because I was like, this seal, these numbers, this has got to be crackable. This is like what a double quad code or something. So I was like going down the search engine hole trying to figure out how to crack that code, and I ended up finding a Reddit thread about it from 4 months ago, which to me was really beautiful. Like a Reddit thread about the series of numbers on the seal of Pos and like what it could possibly fucking mean. And I found this Reddit thread, and I guess I just assume whenever I look something up about a book and find a Reddit thread that it's going to be like 7 years old, and like not a current thing, but an artifact. But this was a multiple reply thread about fucking a weird part in the middle of Long Sun that was from 4 years ago. I mean, 4 months ago. 4 months.
Was there anything interesting suggested?
Yeah, and it said
It was everybody going, no, it's impossible to figure out, that it's maybe nothing. But then there's people going, but it's probably not nothing. It wouldn't have
Probably not nothing.
Yeah. And then there was Aramini was in there.
The odds are highly on not nothing.
Yeah. And I did what I could. It's very strange because the first 3 digits of both lines is the same, which makes it very unlikely to be like any kind of substitution cipher. But there is this kind where you do pairs of, I forget, it's like quad something, quarter, I don't know. But it is possible that if you were really clever with it, you could make a coherent thing that had 3 letters repeating with a substitution cipher. But no one apparently has cracked it on Reddit, which if they had, it would be there, I'm sure.
All right.
So it's like a thing. I mean, it's going to be like, Poe.
Is it in the Drusi book at all? What does Drusi book say about it?
Yeah, look up Seal of Paz.
There's another book where Derusi talks about Long and Short Sun more. He really doesn't talk that much about Long and Short in Solar Labyrinth. He talks about him in The Long and the Short of It, I believe is the name of the book, where he talks about the other two.
What is that book that
Oh, no,
Jen's
Andre
been holding
Derusi.
up lately?
The
Borsky, right?
Oh, you're right.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
another thing. I'm sorry.
Borsky. Are you thinking of Borsky?
I was thinking of Borsky.
Don't ever think of Borsky. I'm kidding.
I feel like
I
this
don't know
is more
anything
of a
about.
Borsky thing than. I haven't seen anything about the Seal of Paz when I've been looking through that book. And if the consensus that you find in the Reddit thread is that nobody knows about it, I don't think that
That's true.
Yeah, they would have read Derusi.
he's a pretty conservative person. Borsky's the maverick.
Maybe I should read some Borsky.
It's great. I really had a great time.
I like having fun.
He really makes some fantastic leaps, and he has this whole system. I actually talked to Mark about the validity of this system that clearly Borsky came up with himself, of like, if you can find one character's name inside the letter, like if you can rearrange one character's name and find another character's name in it, like Piatan, he claims is somehow related to Pia because that her name is in his name. So like she's a descendant of his.
That makes sense to me.
But it's definitely not something that Gene Wolfe was doing.
Definitely.
Like he stated that he didn't do that.
Oh. And also, like, does it add anything? How much does it add to the book if Pia is his?
Well, in that particular case, I'm not sure that it adds anything, but he does make some realizations that I think are true and unlocked whole new vistas for me
Cool.
using this ridiculous system that I don't think actually had any bearing on the writing of the book. Like you can get to some cool places with it.
Yeah, sometimes you can get somewhere cool through weird ways.
Totally.
I think Derrida might have agreed with him on the Pia thing.
Yeah, I'm
yeah.
kind of inclined to think that there doesn't need to be intention for things that resemble each other to have connection.
Right. It's just that sometimes you like if you say this is the system and it works, you paint yourself into a corner because a lot of the time it doesn't do anything.
It works when it works, and when it doesn't.
Right. Exactly. Like if Gene Wolfe had used this system, it would work every time in a beautiful way. And now it just sometimes works in a beautiful way. And sometimes you're like, that means nothing. And sometimes you're like, this is wrong.
So that's like, it's like playing the Dark Side of the Moon against Wizard of Oz kind of thing. Or just, I don't know. It's a cool way to think about it.
Again, though, there doesn't need to be human intention for those things to be related.
Yeah.
Including Dark Side of the Moon and Wizard of Oz. I feel like we don't have any information about underneath place where the artistic inspiration comes from. And so it is, I feel, absolutely possible that Dark Side of the Moon and Wizard of Oz have common roots under the surface.
Sure, but it's also worth it to recognize when like a happy accident happens, and that's what the tool you're using rather than a tool that was designed for this purpose.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could pretty much do whatever you want as long as you have some kind of like, you know what I mean? Like, I mean, of course you can do whatever you want without having any idea what you're doing. Of course you can do that. But like, if you're like, I don't know, if there's like some kind of like overarching method or theory to your madness, I feel like there's something nice about it. It's just good. You like to see it.
It's good craftsmanship.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Okay, bye.
I'm reading on the EarthNet about
The seal of Pos and
Posse
the
seal,
code.
yeah.
Oh, did you find? Is there anything substantial?
No, no.
It does look a
The
lot like a
person-
credit card number.
Yeah, that's been stated a couple times, but this person says, now my best guess is that there is an association to the connection that Revelation makes between the seventh seal and the 12 tribes of Israel. When that seal is broken at the second coming of Christ, representatives from the 12 tribes who have been long sealed away will appear in two groups of 144,000 to repopulate the earth after the Armageddon.
144,000. That's funny because there's 7,000 tin pots he keeps talking about, right? Which is like half-ish of 144.
And there's several seals of Pos, right?
Mm-hmm. A bunch of them that they've already smashed up.
Yeah.
7 seals and 12 tribes is also clearly 7 planets and 12 signs of the zodiac.
Mm-hmm. And now we're getting back to that underneath part.
Now we're talking about Battlestar Galactica, baby.
That's right. That's right. Who's the 7th Cylon or 6th Cylon, whatever number it was.
Okay,
It's Boomer.
It was me.
Johan Ratar has showed up at the exact last minute.
Finally.
Yeah, smashing down through the plate glass ceiling like Hudson Hawk to say that he thought the Pia thing was for real because Safarian says Pia reminded him of a friend at some point. He assumed it was Piatan who essentially saved him in the Typhon encounter.
Well, maybe that was a case where it was real. I'm just saying it's not always real. There are some times when he's definitely incorrect.
Varian also compares
Connor,
every
the
woman to
absolutist.
each other, so the friend could have been a woman. Just like, these. Oh, but he doesn't consider women friends, so never mind.
One of my favorite things that James Hillman does is when he goes and he just says this word and this word, which look the same or have like similar roots, but that our meanings are totally different. Like there's a bridge here. There's just a bridge. There's a bridge of the similarity. So if you want to get from this to that, it's not like you're leaping over nothing. You're leaping over this visible bridge. That like the visible bridge is there. We can see it. We can see that Pia is in Piatan. So there is something there.
That whole thing with Pia, because some people I've seen, I think I brought this up when we were talking about it, and I can't remember what it was, but I saw someone suggesting that Pia was Severian's sister, and they had there was a pretty decent, like, not a smoking gun, but like, oh, okay, I could see that, but I can't remember what it was. But the whole Pia thing, like, what was that? I don't know. It's weird.
Well, isn't Severian's sister named like Severa?
Oh no, it was someone else maybe. No, I think it was Pia. Severa is baby Severian's twin, and that's the theory that Severian had a twin.
Yeah.
Because that would make Severian a partnered name, which is, I guess, a thing there.
Yeah.
Well, it's explicitly stated at some point in New Sun that Severian is like a twin name.
Yeah, and I feel like more than once they give partnered name examples.
What is her name? The evil gal.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
Ajia?
Yeah.
Who?
Agia?
Agia and Agilis.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Agia. Yeah. I keep wanting to say Jocasta.
Jolenta is a different lady.
Oh, Jolenta. Okay. I read the books.
I don't know how people can write something and not have it full of twins. Like everything that I try to write has twins in it. I'm not a twin. I don't really know twins. But I feel like the act of something about the act of making up people. There's something twins are I don't know, they're in the mix. They get their whole own zodiac sign.
Someone else is saying that it's probably that they think it's just symbolizing that about like the short sun world was like a technological civilization, and they would have these like numerical. It's just to show, like, it's a vibes thing, basically.
It's like a serial number.
Yeah.
And they said that there were more of them that had gotten broken.
Yeah, so we don't know if it's the same number or not.
Like, I mean, when you do like art shipments that are like secured or whatever, the you put a seal on the truck that's like a plastic thing that in order to open the truck you have to break it, and each seal has its own number on it, so that if it's broken you can't just replace it with another one, because you write down the number of the seal that's on the truck. So I mean, that is a thing that happens, you know. That's security mechanism.
So I feel like there's a possibility that the secret behind this number has nothing to do with letters at all, and it just has to do with the reasons that the numbers were chosen. Like,
date. Could be like the date it was like sealed up. It could be the date it's supposed to be opened.
I don't think it's dates, because the numbers are. I think it's a security seal.
Yeah, or just like a sort of, you know, I mean, the code is some kind of serial, has some kind of serial meaning. So like there are a bunch of these different chambers with people in them. It seems like maybe this is just some kind of seal that's like, these are for the, you know, this specific purpose. This is the number that's associated with it.
Or like, it's like number this guy through this guy. Like everyone has a number or whatever, and it's like, here are like the library, and it's like the K's are over here and the L's are over here.
Yeah, it's like a Dewey Decimal thing.
This person is saying that it also could be, the meaning could be actually that the meaning in the numbers could actually be that the numbers are meaningless. It's like Silk is doing the sign of addition, and it's like Haas is like a deity, but in reality it's just a serial number, and the dude was just a dude, not a god, and there's this like discrepancy between those two things, like it being holy and it just being kind of like a technological thing that's not holy, but it's just like a logistic.
Yeah, it seems. Yeah, there's something mundane about it.
We're still left with the question: how did Wolfe generate this specific sequence? And if what he did was just go meep, 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 then he was performing a divination. And if it could be something personal to him. It could have a secret personal gene meeting that he's just like, these are my friends' numbers or whatever. You know, that's what I feel like seems the most likely to me, is that they do have a meaning, but it's inconsequential to the story. It's just that he wanted the effect of numbers, and he went about choosing them in a cute way.
And I think it probably is inconsequential to the story, because everybody in the story has nothing to do with the numbers, almost. You know, like this is okay. So like the religion of Viren must be in some way, like the religions of the world must have been designed to explain the weird world of the world to the people, and to like make them be like, don't worry about that, that's normal, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, we have a long sun. I mean, of course the people aren't going to think it's weird, because that's where they've always been, but you know what I mean? Like perhaps what we were talking about earlier about like going underground, like, yeah, maybe underground isn't part of the religion because they don't want people going underground. You know what I mean? Like, so the stuff that Silk's doing, he he can like take what he sees on the seal and like smash it into that religion, because it's like this is how it works. Like, this is how the world works. I'm not explaining that though.
No, I think what you're saying makes sense. What is it? Could it be a joke about Hebrew? Like, every letter in Hebrew has a numerical value. Is this like, this is holy writing? To them, it's just this serial number, but to the people to people like Silk, this is a code from God. I have to crack it with gematria.
Right, and they're not supposed to know about it at all. They're not ever supposed to have anything, right? No, but they know about the seals of Pos, right? He knew. I think he knew what that was.
Johan is saying numbers are literal symbols, so thus they have to have some sort of influence in the Wolf world. So I would think it's like the card gag, like the card bits or the screen. This is like another in that form of joke of like, here's a thing that to us is just this mundane thing, and to them is like an ineffable mystery about why anything is.
Yeah.
I still, though, think that there is none of this avoids the problem of how did Wolfe generate that sequence, which is interesting if inconsequential. Impossible to believe. I mean, the thing is because if you get to the point that you say all he did was just pick random numbers, if he did that, that's a divination, and so we're right back to it being really significant.
I think there are some account numbers of Gene Wolfe's.
Yeah, I mean,
I think that there is bank account or something.
Yeah, it would be fucking, I feel like at that time, identity theft is a different thing. It would be humorous to just put your fucking credit cards in your book like that and be like, I wonder if anyone will use them.
Well, and if we think of the sleepers that are sealed by the seal as people that Pos is intending to use as his new body in his new world, and then we think of Gene Wolfe as the writer who's writing this book, like, the book is carrying on Gene Wolfe into a new world of readers' minds. So having his own account number be the seal of Pos would be kind of a little jokey joke.
Yeah.
That only he can ever get, ever.
I don't know if bank account numbers were different when he was doing this, but it just doesn't seem like a bank account.
Okay.
But I get what you mean, that it could be like, these are the numbers of the houses he's lived in or something.
I mean, it could be the serial number on the word processor that he was using.
Mm-hmm.
Something of that ilk.
Yeah.
It could be like several birth dates or something, somehow like obscured, or not birth dates, because they don't look like birth dates at all, but
I just think
maybe
it's
something military. Maybe it's military related.
Yeah, it could be his dog tag numbers.
Oh, Johan has suggested it could be a joke about Latin, because Latin and Greek letters aren't representative of something in themselves, as opposed to, I'm guessing he means as opposed to Hebrew, where each letter has not only a number but also like go.
This is a camel.
Fence, door. Yeah, and I guess
it could be a graphic value.
Asian languages are in that boat too, and hieroglyphs, but not Greek and Latin.
They're not alphabets. Like Greek and Latin are alphabets. Like, yeah. I'm being pedantic.
No, but I think it's a fascinating field, and the distinctions there are very interesting.
Well,
it is 12:19.
The witching hour.
That's right. But I gotta go continue to move.
No, that's legit.
Oh, you're moving today?
No, I mean, I'm packing up my nest of insanity and whatnot.
He's moving
a lot
until further notice.
Well, and I mean, I have to like curl up on the floor and cry and judge myself a lot. It takes a lot of time.
It's true.
Yeah.
really slows down the whole process.
It's difficult.
Are you moving out of your apartment?
Yes. I haven't told Joy yet, though, so keep a lid on it.
You should just tell her.
Huh?
You should just tell her.
Yeah, I'm scared of it.
Why?
Mark, how's your house?
Joy's crazy.
It's cool.
It looks cool.
Yeah, I mean, I still got boxes and stuff. Not done with everything by any means, but feels like we live here, and that's nice.
Nice.
Oh, I'm jealous.
Congrats.
Nice to live somewhere.
Are the cicadas real fucking loud near your house?
Yes.
Hell.
Oh my god, they're so loud by my house.
You've got
I'm
some
like,
good.
I thought I moved out of the noise venue.
You got a lot of trees on your block.
It's like a harsh noise set outside of my house.
Yeah, it's just never ending. Just going, and the dog loves eating them.
I wear
cool.
ear protection when I work in my yard right now. I'm not even joking. It's really loud. It's like 90 decibels.
Yeah.
Shit.
Certain place. If you go to a place with enough trees, it is so shocking how loud they are.
Yeah, it's so loud. Like usually, if I walk out my front door and Kenny's like across the street messing around with his truck, and I just walk outside, I can just say something to him. And now it's like you have to walk over to where the person is, like right next to them, to say something to them. Like you can't hear anything. Everything is like, it's so loud out there. I mean, I can hear
Is
it
it
right
like
now.
that today?
Yeah.
Cool.
It's so fucking, like I can hear them now.
Yeah.
And I have all the doors and windows closed because it's so hot out.
I've got a window open and I can hear them. They're not too crazy like right around my house, but like just walking the dog is wild.
They're so loud. It's incredible.
But yeah, I mean they're screaming out there. One got trapped in the car with me the other day. It scared the shit out of me.
Oh yeah, I'm always afraid that they're going to fly into my mouth. They're so big.
And they will. They'll just sort of fly wherever. It's like they don't.
They fucking fly like they're goddamn drunk.
I don't think
They
their
don't have
eyeballs.
any aiming
I
at
don't
all.
think their eyeballs work very well.
Also,
Well, they should stay grounded because
They're-
it sucks.
they're drunk with horniness.
I don't like it.
They're
drunk
like-
with horniness.
they're
And
drunk with
mushrooms,
horniness.
right? There's some kind of brain fungus that they all have now.
Yeah.
Some of them have it. It makes them want to do it so intensely that I think it kills them. I think their butts fall
Yeah,
off.
they die.
Tommy said he thought the drone was like putting people in a sex trance or something, and I was like, you should speak for yourself, Tommy. Sounds like a personal thing. But he also said he thought it was making him smarter.
Sometimes Tommy just says stuff.
Yeah,
It's
a
really
lot of
ridiculous.
time.
Yeah.
That's what a
Yeah.
prophet is.
Tommy Prophet.
And he has long
Well,
hair.
I guess it's lunchtime, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess I should eat
Been
something.
real.
2 weeks.
Yeah, 2 weeks.
2 weeks should be chill.
2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Can we talk more about chapter 9 in 2 weeks, please?
Yeah, we
we'll
need
do,
to.
we'll do
I'm
9 and
gonna
10.
read that chapter.
9. Yeah, let's do 9 and 10.
We'll shoot for that and see
I
what
kind of
happens.
like
Shoot for it.
the like.
I think that we will talk about chapter 9.
Wait, who was supposed to be Saturn now? I think it was Connor.
Yeah?
I think that
I'm
has
just saying,
borne
I
out.
absolved myself of the responsibility, so if you guys want someone to
Oh.
do it.
I
Maybe
think I might be
Saturn.
interpreting Saturn different than you did, and I'm slowing everything down as much as possible.
Yeah, that works.
I'm just
Yeah.
overly heavy and dragging everything back. That's my Saturn interpretation.
And also,
So we'll do chapter 9 next week.
Yeah. Wait, can we go? Who is everybody again?
I don't remember.
I'm
You're-
Mercury.
I think you're Mercury. Jordan.
Am
is
I
Venus.
Mars?
Yeah, you were.
I think I had been Mars, and now I have.
I think we thought that you might be Jupiter because of that.
Yeah, I think Mark switched to Jupiter.
Hmm.
Okay.
and I'm the sun. And I read today that the Iroquois creation myths involve people sending the human being sending a mouse to the sun to make it stop hurting them.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah,
Wow.
I thought of
Missing
you,
of
Connor.
Sminty and Apollo.
Yeah.
That's the real Jesus story.
Wait, and then who? Wait. So who's Jordan? The moon?
Wait, who?
Jordan.
Venus.
Venus.
Oh, Venus.
I was the moon.
Oh, okay.
Now we all just live on the moon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The moon is dark now.
The moon
cats
is
are
the Zoom
moon.
meeting.
The cats are the moon.
More like the moon is dork.
You said it, Connor.
You
But
can't prove it. My
Okay,
lips
guys.
were off screen.
Let's eat lunch.
Let's
Yeah.
eat
Okay.
lunch. Everybody
Alright.
enjoy your lunches.
See you
Okay.
guys.
Bye.
Hi.
We had we had